Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome back to the Bandicast. Oh, it's been a long time since I've said that. This is season 3, I guess. I don't know why I'm doing seasons, but hey, with that Crash Team Rumble announcement, we've got the Bandicast Rumble. Yeah, very original. Okay, today's guest is freaking amazing. If you've seen his art, you've seen it in thumbnails for YouTubers like PBG and Ant Dude. He's a gigantic Rhythm Heaven fan, and he's also insane because he's beaten Crash 406% more times than any normal human should. Today I have with me Kevin Fagaragan. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me.
I am saying your last name right? Is it Fagaragan?
So, Fagaragan is fine. I pronounce it Fagaragan, but
Okay.
Fagaragan is also acceptable.
Okay, cool.
That's always like a big thing when it comes to like YouTubers. Are like, is it Fagaragan? Is it Fagaragan? It's like, it's technically Fagaragan, but
Okay.
but Fagaragan, we like to call it the American way or whatever. But
Mhm.
it's fine. It's fine.
I forgot to ask before we started, and I was like, oh, yes, the one thing. His name. I forgot to ask him about it.
No, it's okay. It's I've gotten worse. So like I got a Ferraki before and Fadragon a few times. It's like why?
Kevin Fagaragan.
Like yeah, that could work.
I would take that as a compliment because if Dragon were my last name, that'd be awesome.
See, I could be related to Spyro in some way, you know? Like
Okay, well, got some questions here that are Crash related, and they're gonna be awesome. So, since you're a newcomer, we got to do the newcomer questions. So we'll start off very simple with what's your history with Crash? When did you first get into the series, and what was the first Crash game you ever played?
so my history with Crash, it's very special, I want to say, because it was my first video game. Crash 1 is my first video game ever.
Oh my
Like I
God,
got
same.
See, I got a PS1 when I was like 4 years old for my birthday. Got Crash 1
Mm-hmm.
and picked up almost every mainline game ever since. And, being an artist, he's actually like my biggest influence, like when it comes to like, crafting my style. And like, I think Crash, like the Crash series for basically guiding me through my career, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I just have fond memories of like getting that the PS1 and like playing Crash 1, like going through it with my dad at the time, and like even to the point where he's just like, we got to get everything, dude. We got to get all the boxes, even to the point where like we didn't have a computer at the time, so like my dad would actually like go to my neighbor's house, knock on their door, and be like, "Hey, do you have a computer? Like, we need to find out like how to get these secret boxes and stuff that are like impossible to get your first time through, you know?"
That's awesome.
And my dad always encouraged me like, "Keep going. Maybe you could do it again without dying, because you know how in the first game you can't get the gem if you die."
Yeah.
So but like it was just a lot of practice and like just like a lot of fun memories. And like I said, like every year I would get like the next Crash game and like keep on going until the hiatus happened. So
Yeah.
like like I know a lot of people would stop after the Naughty Dog games, but like no, I just kept going. Like Crash like was like he was like my Mario, you know? Like a lot of people's
Yeah.
Mario, like Sonic. And I didn't care if the games were like, like flopping up and down, just kind of like,
Yeah.
in quality or whatever. I'm like, I just like seeing this dude, even though his design's been changing a lot, but like it's still Crash to me, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um but like going back to like art stuff, like it's just yeah, I would like draw Crash all the time. I love drawing him and Dr. Cortex the most. And actually like I Like I think it was like Crash to Insanity, or like when Crash to Insanity came around. I think that's when it actually like sparked to me like, man, I really want to do art as a career because like like
Cool.
Crash like yeah, when you go on like Naughty Dog's website, you see like yeah, you can see the concept art and all this stuff. But like when you played Twin Sanity, you saw like oh, all the collectibles are just like artwork and
Yeah.
stuff. It's like really inspiring, especially like you see all this stuff that like that's not in the game. What the heck? Like that's not in the game. Or like storyboards and like I did a few storyboards myself in my career and like I learned it because of Crash Bandicoot of all things.
That
And
was, if I can interject real quick, that was actually the cool thing about Twin Sanity because it was the first game in the series at that point that actually kind of baked the artwork into like its aesthetic. Like you'd see the 2D artwork in the loading screens, the game over screens, the little level select screens, and no other Crash game really did that at that point like that. So that was like a really cool thing to see that the artwork influenced a lot of just the game in general.
oh yeah. And like it was just really inspiring because at the time I think that's when like Crash forums stuff like starts popping up and we're like
Mm-hmm.
start discussing like, yo, do you know who Foofy is? It's
Yeah.
like who the heck is Foofy? Or like I remember like talking to some people on like Crash Mania about that and we're like getting our minds blown and yeah, it was just really inspiring and like I think that really boosted like my influence when it came to my artwork. And I got one more like art related thing that's kind of cool with Crash is that
I
I
think I know this is
actually
going.
like yeah I so what's cool is that in I think it was 2008. I think it was around that time,
Mm-hmm.
around when the Titans games were around.
Yeah.
There was a Kids World art contest, right?
Yes.
And I saw this like I think it was like I think Crash Mania at the time was like saying like, "Oh my God, look at this! This is there's this contest, right?" And then I'm like, "I need to enter this contest. I want to be in a Crash. I need to be in a Crash Bandicoot game. I want to be in a Crash Bandicoot game so bad." And so like I drew this like picture of like Crash in his like I think it was his Mind Over Mutant design, but he was like like holding me, but holding my face. And if I look back at it, it kind of looks a little messed up because it looks like he's suffocating me.
It looks like it's chloroforming you.
Yeah, exactly. And he's smiling and stuff. But like,
He's taking
it
you
got
out.
yeah. But then like it got in. It I the the artwork got in, and my artwork is in a Crash Bandicoot game, and I'm like, wow, like this is amazing. And like even though like I actually didn't win, like it's funny they said that you get a free copy of the game, and I was like, where is it?
Oh no.
They never gave me my free copy of the game. And even one of my buddies, one of my buddies, Phil, he actually was one of the kids at the time too that got his artwork in there, and he was like, yeah, I didn't even get it either. And
Oh
it's just like
man.
so they're like we're I mean, it's cool. We got our artwork in the game, and it's like it's in the I know there's like different pages in the gallery, but I mean, it's still cool. Even though we had to buy the game, it's still really cool to see that. And then one more thing that I think it's funny because it's kind of in trivia now for like certain Crash pages, but
Mhm.
they made an error where like they list the names of all the kids who like won the prizes and stuff, or won like their artwork getting in.
Mhm.
And I noticed that my name appears twice in the credits,
Oh.
and I think it overwritten like another kid's name.
Oh no.
So like so yeah, so if you look if if you look back, if you look back at like the credits for Mind Over Mutant, you'll see like Kevin Fagaragan, this kid, this kid, this kid, Kevin Fagaragan, and it's like, oh no,
They thought you were so good, they put you in twice.
I guess it's kind of cool. I mean, it's really neat. It's really neat. But like I mean, other than that, like you know, with Crash, it's like yes, he's like my biggest influence, and I like did a lot of fan art. Just did so much fan art over
Uh-huh.
the years. Just drew like I even had like a funny like an OC phase like
Mm,
earlier like in the DeviantArt days, and
nice.
like I actually it's kind of cool with like Crash Team Rumble coming out. Like I actually made a cat character, a cat hybrid character once, and I'm like looking at Catbat now, and I'm like, huh, that's kind of cool. That's pretty cool. But but yeah, it's just nice. It's just like if I could like dig back into my old artwork and see like how far, like I just smile. Like yeah, it's crude and it's childish drawings, but it's like dang, this dude, this orange rat
Yeah.
has been like a huge part of my life, and I have to thank the like Crash Games for that.
Yeah, it's just part of your history. And the same thing with me because I'm actually coming out little wink wink tease tease for those listening. I am working on a history with Crash video for me, and it details just kind of little stories I have and how I with each game in the series, how I learned about each one. And no, my story with Crash kind of starts out the same way, except I was younger. I was like 2 or 3 when I first played Crash,
Mm,
and being that young, it was really kind of all I knew and all I was doing at the time. But then, like from there, whenever a new game came out, we pretty much had it, and it influenced a lot for me too. Even though I didn't really take on art professionally at any point. I did, I still do draw to this day, and Crash was my muse for a while there too. I would do
mm,
the different designs from different games, or just do different original designs for him because people do that a lot too.
yeah.
Um, and it was really cool seeing all that artwork in Mind Over Mutant because I learned of that contest I think too late. The game was already out by that point. And I was like, no, if only I had known, or maybe it was in a specific region somewhere. So I don't know if I could have even entered it or not. And it was still really cool to like see everyone's stuff in there. And I have seen yours, yeah, uh, in there with everyone else, like the little collage that's there. I forget where, if it's in the gallery, right? Because they also have other artwork in Nina's school, like in her classroom.
Mm,
But I think it was the gallery, like the general gallery where you could see
yeah.
yours.
I think yeah, you got to go into like Crash's house and then like look at through
That's right.
the comic book or something like that. It's been a
Yeah.
while. It's been a while. But yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Like just knowing that it's like man, I was once in the Crash Bandicoot game. It's like it's not my favorite Crash Bandicoot game, but it's still like it's still something, and it like as a kid you're just like your brain explodes. It's like I'm
Yeah.
in this.
No, for real. No, I get that. Um, God, and do you remember too the Insane one, the idol animation contest? I did enter that. I
Mm,
tried to make a little animatic for that. And
yes, same here.
what was your idea? I don't remember.
I had a thing where Crash would grab Aku Aku and
Mm-hmm.
like actually use him as a shield. And I think I actually referenced it was like referencing a Crash to Insanity poster
Yeah, I do
where like
remember that. Yeah,
yeah, Crash is like holding Aku Aku like a shield,
and he's screaming
and
in terror.
and then like he gets out of gets out of the pose and he looks at Crash like nope. And he's like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Oh, I like that. It's nice.
But yeah, I think they went with the volleyball thing, which is really cute. Really
Yeah.
cute.
Um,
Um,
I do think it's funny that that's the one they went with. A lot of people did do like you, and I'm sure others with Aku Aku in there. But it's funny that you need Aku Aku for that animation to play out at all to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
um, See, so I went for something a little more generic. I mean, it was generic in hindsight, and I wish it wasn't so. Um, but I wanted it to be with just Crash by himself so you could see it anywhere. It's just him falling asleep in place. He doesn't like flop down or anything, but he just kind of slouches over and is just snoring. And then after like a couple seconds, he just wakes up.
Hmm.
Um, Little on the generic side, but I what I did with that, since I don't have a tablet or anything for digital art, I drew everything and colored everything on paper, took pictures of those images, and then put them into Premiere, and then I just cut them out. Um,
Hey, whatever works, right? Like,
so
get the idea out there.
yeah, yeah. So I put like little text just to show like what he's doing, how it happens, and all that, and it looks very like animatic esque. So
Hmm.
I was proud of how it turned out, even though the idea probably didn't even get seen. But
That's all right.
it's little things like
It's still
that.
cool. It's still
Yeah,
cool that they had a contest like that anyway, you
yeah,
know. Like,
exactly. Involving the
but
community.
yeah, I think there's like one more like fun connection I have with like Crash now, which um it's kind of it's like it's just on the nose. It's not like direct, but like I did have like an opportunity once, but like it got scrapped. I did have an opportunity once, but it got scrapped along the way. I can't say much, but like
Uh
it
huh.
was so close. But like um recently I did a key art for this video game that just released called The Punch Win by Sheenan Games. And like I found out, like I was like, oh, this is cool. I did artwork for this game. It's now on Nintendo Switch. And I like look at the name of the director of the game, and like I'm like, I've seen this name before. And like if you played like the Crash Game Boy Advance games, like
Hmm.
it like I think all the Crash Game Boy Advance games by Vicarious Visions, like you see that the director of that Penguin game was like a sound designer or something on all those Crash games, and I'm just like, oh, oh my god, I feel so like I feel like getting really close to actually working on a Crash thing. Like I feel so close yet so far away, you know. That's the big dream right there. I think it's like if I could like work on a Crash game or like just or actually just make official something, anything official. I think that would be cool.
Uh huh.
It's just a big dream, but
Well, I mean, hey, with your artwork and your talent, and other people in the community, like other artists like Sponge, Bandicoots, or Mel the Honeybee, like you guys, like she was trying to apply at Toys for Bob, and I don't know how that panned out, but she was pretty vocal about it. And with Sponge's freaking style, he can get damn close to Nick's style.
Mhm.
And with your stylized look for the characters, like it's just so bubbly and so eye catching that I have no doubt at some point, if you just you show that they see your stuff and all that, um, and you're adamant with it, you will definitely get into a Crash game at some point. I really
how
want to
many
see you in there.
times? How many times do I have to 106% this game to get into a Crash game?
Toys for Bob, hello. This is my 19th time.
Oh my
Hire
god.
me. But no, speaking of Crash 4 as well, and Rumble, very timely that you were the first one to find the TV image, right?
Um, I don't know if there's anybody else that was like kind of vocal about it, but as far as I know, maybe. I don't want to claim it, but it's like I
Well,
just like, when you tinker around so much with a game that you play over and over again, and then you see that, you're like, wait, what? But you're like, wait, hold up, that wasn't there before, kind of
yeah.
thing. But then
Um,
like, there's still stuff that I'm like, discovering like once in a while that I didn't notice, even through my first 19 runs of the game. It's like I didn't notice there was like a firework creature in like one of the levels, one of the embryo world levels, and it's like,
Yeah.
was that there? I don't remember that being there, but I'm like, oh no, I probably just zipped through the game really fast. And but
um,
but yeah, like I don't know, I saw that and it was like, oh, maybe they are teasing something, but and obviously it's like I think it's the logo for this Wumpa League, not Wumpa League anymore, but
yeah, because you were the first one. Your little Twitter video was the first one I saw, and that's what made me ask you. I asked you. I was like, "Oh, hey, can I include this in the video and give you the credit?" And you're like, "Sure." So because that was the first instance I ever heard or seen of anything of that sort in the game. So I was like, "Oh, when was that added in, or was that always there and you just had 106% it for the first time, and then go back and just happen to be screwing around by the TV and check that out and see it?" Like, who knows if it was an original inclusion from the get-go in the base game, or if they added it in via patch like later just to drum up the speculation, because Cat Bat being there in the 106% end or the 100% ending already solidified them working on both Rumble and Crash 4 at the same time.
yeah.
So who knows how many more teases there are that you have to like little Easter eggs that you have to go and find, like to trigger something or something in the background that wasn't there before, or you can only find in one version of the level, be it the normal or inverted version. It just kicked off this, like the teases at that point, like prior to that, were just things like you had to have a Twitter account, you had to go on Twitter or something, or on Instagram or something, and they would say like, "Hey, nudge nudge, who remembers Crash or Spyro?" And to go from that to in-game teases for the next game, like immediately after, like it was unreal for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, yeah, you got like the 106 ending that's like basically teasing Crash 5 or whatever, whenever that happens.
Yeah,
But you know, it's like that's in your face if you got that far. But like with that, it's like, what is this symbol? I
yeah,
understand like why people would obsess over
it's
like
cryptic.
speculating, speculation and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know, but thankfully like we got something out of it. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I wasn't as into the speculation of it as much as others, but it's like, oh, that's cool, and then like baton it to everybody who's like, okay, everybody, let's find out what this means.
That's hey, I've been in this game for in the speculation game, that is, for like at least what 7 years. Let's see, 15,
Mhm.
16, 17, 18, 19, 7, 8ish years. So try to do some quick math real quick, but yeah. So what started out as me like, hey, like I don't know if you remember this. There was this fake leak where somebody mocked up for the Wii U a virtual console port of, I think it was Huge Adventure.
Mm.
And that was back in 2015. So at that point, my mind did something I never did before and paid attention to that leak and went, hold on, if this ends up happening, and this is before we got the 3 reveal for Crash with Skylanders and all that, we were like, okay,
Mhm.
so we were like, if this comes out because it's a Nintendo thing, like that makes sense to bring in, like um a Crash game only on a Nintendo platform for consoles. It'll grab everyone's attention as a Crash fan because this is the first Crash thing we've had in a couple of years at that point, and then from there it could launch. And I'm thinking of all this stuff, and like that could be the launching point for a revival, like a potential revival in the future.
Mhm.
And even though it didn't happen, it's just the thrill of like feeling like fucking Sherlock Holmes or something, and I try to piece all these things together and be like, well, if this happens, that could lead to that, and if they're paying attention here, then they can do this in the future. And like, whether we get stuff right or wrong, people like to point it out, like, oh, well, you forgot this detail, or you're wrong on this, or I think this, and this is just a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. Like, even taking all that out of it, it's still just trying to figure it out. I think is the fun part.
Oh yeah. Like yeah, that's I think there's a pretty like there's like a certain joy when it comes to like speculation, and it's like it's just to see is it true or not. That's it. Like,
Hmm.
and then some of us like tend to overthink. Some of us are like right on the nose or just way off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you never know. You never know. So no, I understand though. I I I speculated some stuff for Smash 4 for years, and it's like, no, no thanks.
Oh yeah, because actually, no, you just unlocked that part of
Uh-oh.
of the video that I did, because that was one of the first speculation videos I did, which was that Virtual Console one. Yeah, no, I was like, oh, Smash 4 is out, so Crash for Smash. That was like a movement. It was hashtag Crash for Smash. Um, so that was one thing that got me going. I was like, okay, well, hold on. Because I've been hearing about this Crash for Smash thing, and if this Virtual Console thing happens, that means it'll drum up hype for people that are Crash fans. Maybe,
Mhm.
they'll throw him into Smash, and it'll get even more recognition. And then from there, that can gauge the hype for, a new game, or it can just judge, like, how people receive him, like his
Yeah,
reception, and it could probably launch from there. And even though that's not how it happened, I feel still personally it was pretty logical to come to that conclusion. Um,
hmm
and that's just the cool part about it, is just trying to make these little connections and see if your hypotheses hold any water.
yeah. If it's like if this happens, then this could happen, or like it's nice to like think of like, oh man, this alternate timeline that could potentially happen, but we have no idea what
Yeah.
goes on in like the mind of like developers or like like Sakurai or whatever. We have no idea what's going on in their brains, and sometimes they can't even tell you. So
Yeah, it's like trying to get into the minds of the devs almost and be like, okay, realistically, how would they handle this, or how far out would they wait to tease or do a trailer for this, or
yeah,
something? And it's funny how vague it's gotten, because, like I said, the evolution of the teases and the speculation, because it went from like PS France or something tweeting out about Spyro on April
but then there
Fool's
was like a
Day.
sign. There was like a sign on like a
Yeah, yeah.
commercial, and like, and they're like, wait a second, hold on. Is this legit? Is this happening? So,
That was the biggest one, because that was a Twinsanity render on a little street sign. That was the 2013
oh yeah,
PlayStation ad.
I
Um,
remember Jump Button at the time would like secretly message me. He's like, dude. I'm like, dude, I haven't talked to you in years, and like this is happening. It's
yeah, no, I love that it's always been there. Just that, the camaraderie of all of us getting together, or you guys getting together, little groups getting together and being like, oh shit, something's going down. Like, could this
Mhm.
mean something? Um, and yeah, no, they were very cheeky with those teases, because especially in the PS ads, because then we got that one with CTR, it was Crash, Cortex, and Coco, and then you got Kapunawa in the background, and we were like, wait a minute, who's that mask?
It's like, who the heck
Like,
is this?
they were actively teasing Crash 4 as CTR was still getting content. So we didn't think it was for a new game. We thought that mask was for, like,
Yeah.
she was going to be like a new power up or something. I thought they were teasing new content for CTR. That's how,
hmm
like, backwards they were making us think.
And they're still doing that with us with Crash 4, so it all comes full
Exactly.
circle.
They're really having fun just messing with us. But I love it, because it's like a little game in and of itself. It's like, okay, you're gonna do this. All right, game on. I'll see you. I'll try and decode that shit. And now I'm
I
trying to
mean,
do
yeah.
binary.
I mean, yeah, like with the whole like that pizza thing like that happened
Hmm.
recently. Like I wish I got a box.
Oh,
I'm
you
still
didn't?
expecting a
Oh
care
man.
pack. I'm still expecting a care package, Toys for Bob, but no, but but no, but it's like you see that they make like this tweet saying like, "Oh man, you have to beat the game this many times," and like, like, well. But then like you see that when you look at the price or whatever on the pizza box, it's like, oh, this could be a date for something, and like going they you know I appreciate that because like they're actually like they know that the Crash fans are and Spyro fans are also like huge into the speculation stuff.
Yeah.
So and they like playing along. They like playing along with it. Like even the whole like Crash Rumble stuff, they hit stuff all over the place,
Yeah.
everywhere.
I initially like I was when that GDC talk with Paul Yang came out, I was like, okay, I'll watch this at some point, and then something compelled me to watch it then and there, and I'm watching it, and I watched the whole thing, so it's not like I was looking for stuff specifically. I take the time as a Crash fan when anyone posts something like that, whole convention, panels or whatever. I attended one myself. I was at the E3 2017 Coliseum thing, the Crash reunion panel. Um, so like I go in and I listen to these things in depth because I just like hearing devs and other significant people within those groups talk about their experience with Crash and all of that stuff, how the series has evolved, yada yada. And then Paul Yan just fucking goes in and is like, okay, I'm gonna stop my sentence here. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna transition over to the next slide. Oh, what's this? Crash Team Rumble artwork. Okay, and then moving
Yeah.
on. And there was like nothing, and I'm like, okay, that was for us. That was for us.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they
I
adopt.
know they're I
Sorry.
know they're gonna do that with like the next Spyro game too. You
Yeah.
you know. You
Oh,
already know. You already know.
yes, yes. It's cool because they adopt our fan terms and stuff. So like they were calling it Wumpa League because there was that little post-it note also in that GDC talk, and they've adopted Spyro Community Day, so that's awesome. And I'm hoping they acknowledge Crash Community Day. But like it's so cool that they do pay attention. And hell, also in that GDC talk, me, my brother Jeremiah Isaiah, a Canadian guy, we were all in that little collage of fans that they showed off. For they just took our pictures from like reaction videos and stuff, but like that's
Yeah,
awesome. That
that's really nice. I like that they're vocal about like
yeah,
like the fans and stuff like that. So
I'm sorry that you didn't get a pizza box. I am that makes me feel all the more special that I got one.
I listen. I saw that there's like a what was it like a desktop what was that thing called like a little
The little like
it's a
mouse
little
pad
thing
thing.
for your mouse pad. I'm like, hey, I just got a PC. Come on, man.
Oh
Maybe
man.
we'll maybe one day. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so on to the next question. Which Crash game is your favorite, and what are your favorite aspects about it?
Ooh. Okay. So
I know what you told me about how you were going to answer this.
so prior to Crash Bandicoot 4, it's about time.
Hmm.
That's my favorite. That is my favorite game of all time, and I know we'll talk about that more later.
Hmm.
But growing up, I want to say that it's been like a balance, like a weird balance between Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2, with like CTR and like Twinsanity. Like mostly Crash 1, 2, and then like CTR it's kind of its own thing, like,
Hmm.
and like Twinsanity I have like very specific reasons for that. It's like just because it was something that ignited my push to be an artist and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So for Crash, there might be a bias just because like it's my first game ever, my first two video games ever, Crash 1 and 2. I want to say like my favorite aspects about those two specifically is that I just enjoy the tight rhythmic precision platforming. Like
Hmm.
like it just going through a level and learning how to flow through it with like like once you figure out like where the boxes are, like where like how the enemies will approach you. How are you gonna make this jump? Where is that gem? Where is this secret? All that stuff. Like I just I just really love the feeling of that. And like,
Yeah.
even like the first game, it challenges you with the whole like, hey, can you do this again without dying? And it's like, oh, okay, okay, yeah, sure. Um, like, yeah, and like Crash 2, I feel like it did build upon build upon that, and like I think it made me like Dr. Cortex a lot more because it's like, okay, he's kind of just there. He's always there now, like
Hmm.
being like this manipulative like asshole, and just Crash is like, even though the name is on the title that Cortex Strikes Back, like Crash doesn't know that he's like, oh man, he's a good guy now. Um, but like Crash 2, like I feel like it really improved on like, it just expanded on Crash's moveset. Like I like the slide, I like the slide jump and like crawling and stuff like that. Like crawling slow, but it's like, it was kind of like this nice natural evolution for Crash.
Yeah.
Um, and then like CTR, like I feel like they kind of took that tight rhythmic precision feeling that I really like about the first two games, but just like adapted it to like a racing game, like a completely
Yeah.
different genre.
That
So
was
it's
the
like,
coolest thing. Yeah.
yeah, because like with that, it's like, yeah, like Mario Kart's fine. I think it's a fun game and stuff. But like, I don't know, there's something about the triple boost system, you
Hmm.
know, in CTR that just felt really satisfying to me. You go time it really like, just time it to a rhythm, and then it's like, okay, and then keep at it.
Yeah.
And like that's what felt really nice about that game. And then like going like Twinsanity again, it's just, it's not perfect. I know that game is clunky, but it felt refreshing. Like it
Yeah.
felt refreshing after like ooh, I feel like my least favorite might be a little controversial, but like but like but yeah, it just felt refreshing after like some other games, and like it also bumped Cortex as like my favorite character in the series because like, oh my god, I love Dr. Cortex so much. Like you could like just seeing his evolution of like being this determined to conquer the world dude to like, okay, let's do this again, and then he's just slowly breaking. Like he's slowly breaking. Like, what, yeah, he's determined, and then he's just like, okay, one more try. Shit, my boss is here. I'm tired. Like I'm tired of this shit. Like that's
Yeah.
Dr. Cortex. And I love him. I love him for that. He's not like he's evil, but he's not like he's comedic evil, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, Cortex's evolution is actually really interesting in that aspect because even looking at it from the way his attitude is, uh, regardless of how much of his original, like really the Wombat era backstory made it into Crash One, because the original inspiration for why he um, did what he did was because out of revenge for everyone that's he's been screwed over by the world, so he wants revenge. So like being this bitter little fucking ball of rage, from going from that to like, and he's still kind of that in the final game for the original Crash 1, going from that plotting, his revenge against Crash specifically in 2, and then yeah, teaming up with Ukuka again for 3. Then, by the time of, yeah, just being so out of it and so not wanting to deal with any of it for Nitro Card and for Wrath of Cortex, by the time of Twin Sanity, with Lex Lane taking over and being the mainstay voice to this day, like, they just completely 180'd him from being this, like, bitter little thing to, like, so campy, having fun being evil, will wreck anyone's day without a second thought, and he'll smile and cackle while doing it. And it's the funniest thing, because
hmm
some people find it to be a little controversial of like, oh, well, he's not threatening anymore or whatever. But I mean, if Insane proved anything, Lex Lane could do a threatening Cortex, a foreboding, serious Cortex. Um,
Definitely.
but the
But yeah,
fact
like,
that
oh, keep going. Sorry.
oh, so all I was gonna say was no, the fact that that change happened is interesting to see, and the fact they've kept it up is pretty cool. So
Oh yeah, like yeah, like I think like Twinsanity's like Cortex was just such a turning point for that character, and it's like,
yeah,
God, I love like he feels like one of those like relatable villains where it's just like he's not just evil, he's just you could tell that he's like there's like a part of him that's like he's human, he is a human, but
yeah,
like feeling more human and like but like the goofy side of that, you could see the goofy side. He's a caring father, uncle, and it's like it, except for that one game where he says that one thing to her, Nina. But but yeah, it's I will say like yes, like going back, like it's Crash 1 and 2 are like still my favorite like early Crash games. Um, just because like like I said, like the type platforming. I like the world, the characters, and I think one more thing about Crash 1 I forgot to mention is that I just like the sense of adventure.
yeah,
Like the whole thing about like I got tossed out of this tower or I ran out, whatever you call it, but like the first thing you see in the distance is the castle, and I'm going there, and just every time you go closer, it's getting closer, and you feel that, you and like that was something that I actually like really missed. I miss seeing in like certain games, and like Crash 2 and like 3, like yeah, they did the whole warp room system, which is great. I think it's fun. I think it's like nice to give people options, but I do miss that like sense of adventure,
uh huh.
like or like the progression, you know, like just seeing that sense of progression. So yeah.
Yeah, because the warp room system is it's a really nice way of how you're saying being like, okay, pick your poison where you want to go, but it does feel very, very video gamey in that sense of like choose your level. And in Crash One, which is what I appreciate about other games, the only other games that really did it in a level select sense, because Twin Sanity, Mind Over Mutant, they went the more interconnected route, so it feels really much like adventure.
Hmm.
But with other level select styled Crash games that ditched the world, sorry, not the world map, they kind of went back to the world map style. Is Entranced and Crash 4? They give you the
Yes.
sense of like, hey, every everything's interconnected. And with Crash 1 specifically, when you tune out the level select aspect about choosing the next level, you see the progression of Crash going through the islands, and with the theme of each island being jungle, ruins, and temples, and then Cortex Castle, it's really cool to see. Yes, you really are going from point A to point B, and it makes sense how he got there and how you're getting there.
Hmm.
Even with the repeating aesthetics and stuff, and the duplicate levels and whatnot, or whatever, like the shared aesthetic and everything, it's still cool to see that progression. It feels very
Yeah,
natural.
it does feel very natural, and I really appreciate that. Like for the first game, it's nice. But yeah, like, is it cheating that I have like four different like Crash games on my like
Oh no, no,
spot
it's
here?
fine. No, no,
Yeah, like I'll say those four. Those four, maybe like an honorable mention to like Entranced. I think Entranced is a really good Game Boy Advance Crash game.
hmm
Um, because like I really like the Game Boy Advance Crash games. So like I think like Huge Adventure XS or whatever you call it is like it just felt like, oh yeah, they put Crash 2 on the they
on the
put
Game
Crash
Boy.
2 on the Game Boy, and then like the next one is like, oh, they put Crash 3 on the Game Boy,
Yeah.
but like there's like some like other things like, ooh, they actually made Entropy the villain, and I like that a lot. I
hmm
really like that. And Entrance is actually like he was one of my favorite villains growing up just because of how easy he was to draw.
Yeah.
And and then like when I found out that he was going to be in Crash to Insanity at one point,
Uh-huh.
I blew my mind. It blew my mind. I like I'm like that's my favorite character right there. But he's not in this game. He's he's he was almost in this game, and I think his name is Paul Gardner, the director of Twinsanity. But
Uh-huh.
he did mention that like he wanted like because I don't care about story that much in games. You know, like I like fun stuff, but like if you're doing some like fun like tiny lore bits, that I think
Uh-huh.
that's cool. But like I don't think like timeline or whatever matters in Crash, to be honest. So like when he said that when Entrance was going to be in the game, he wanted some like interdimensional like reasoning where it's like, oh, he's from the Game Boy Advance timeline or like this interlocking like like explaining like, oh, it's dimension hopping. So that's why he's in this game. But I just thought that was really cool. Love Entrance. I love that egg.
Yeah, that little egg child. Yeah, of all the characters that got little cameos and stuff in Crash 4, you would think he would have, and he didn't. And
He kind of did, like in the
did he?
ending. Yeah,
Oh,
he
true,
shows
true,
up.
true. He is there. I completely forgot about that. But
So,
well, you would think that he would have made some sort of appearance like in the game, though. Like maybe not as like a boss or something, but at the very least, like have him the way they did with like the elementals or the evil twins or something. I know him being in that ending is cool, um, but whenever you get into dimensional stuff and other timelines, Entropy isn't the only one. They with Entrance there, even though it's a spin off. It was cool to see, yeah, him take over, Entropy take over as main villain for one game, until they tried in Crash 4, and then having a whole other new villain. And I remember them specific. The cool thing about Entrance specifically was that they, in the manual, said that whereas Entropy was the master of time, uh, Entrance I think was the master of dimensions.
hmm,
So like that was a really cool that stood out to me as a kid. So I was like, there's a lot of potential that they could have with him in future stuff if they ever go that route.
yeah,
Um, and it's just funny seeing how it's cool hearing that was going to be their reasoning for bringing him into Twinsanity, a mainline game, because since the Game Boy games are spin-offs and stuff, and the racing games are spin-offs, so with CTR, it's funny how Oxide started there, and then they just kind of stuck him into the mainline stuff, so he had like the little flyby in the Wrath of Cortex intro, and then you've got his little cameo in Twinsanity, and then he's got the small role in Crash 4. I think it's really funny he became a canon character.
for sure. And like that's the thing. Like I don't really care about that. I just like seeing the characters. It's like there's no logical reasoning why he should be here. It's like I don't care.
Yeah,
I
it's completely fine. Yeah.
it's fine. It's just let me have fun. That's it. Like that Tana is not the right Tana. Like whatever.
See,
No.
see now Tana, that was a whole thing in and of itself, just because of topical stuff today, this day and
Hmm.
age. So, oh,
Yeah.
if she can't be the damsel, which was the '90s, girl trope and stuff, now she's the strong woman. She's the independent woman. She's got that specific hairdo, which a lot of
You
female
see a
characters
lot.
have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, like I think it's fine to have like I think this new Tana is actually pretty cool. Just like I like the reasoning why she's like that. It's like, what if Crash died? It's like okay, like yeah, that's a cool reasoning why that, like they have this character the way she is. So I think I think she's fun. I think she's a fun like new take on Tana. It's like I don't think like Tana like the other like the original version is going away anytime soon because like she was in. She was in the remake. She was in Insane Trilogy, and she was in Nitro Fueled. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like they didn't forget about her. We're just introducing a fun new take on the character, and I think it works. I personally think it works. So,
Yeah, exactly. Uh, they had fun with it.
yep,
So,
exactly.
all right. So now with the opposite question, which
Uh-oh.
which Crash game is your least favorite, and what makes it your least favorite? What aspects about it make it your least favorite?
Oh man.
I can't wait to hear this.
So, oh boy. So, okay, first off, like I can't say like anything about like certain games like, like there's some games I haven't like given like at least like a few hours to because like yeah, I dabbled with some of like the Titan Game Boy Advance games and it's like ugh. But like I don't think it's fair for me to like, be like, okay, that's the worst one for me at least, but it's not for me. And like I'll say like, even the Titans games and like Mind Over Mutant, like even though my art's in that game, it's like it's not my cup of tea. I did enjoy I'll say that like I've enjoyed most of Crash games because it's like, it's like as a fan, like, I just want to support the boy, and
Mm-hmm.
like even though like I'm not a fan of like the beat 'em up style. I still had a fun time with it. Um, but like in terms of like my least favorite, oh shoot, like I'm really scared to say because it's when I mentioned like my favorite games, I did not mention like Crash 3 or Warped,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's Crash Warped to me, and I'm not saying I hate this game or anything. Like it for me, like I love when Crash is with its like, tight rhythmic precision platforming. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is my to me that's Crash for me. And I like that. That's always what Crash has been for me, and that's it's yeah, that's it. I just like Crash when the gameplay feels like that. So when Warped came along, like yeah, of course, like you play it for the first time and you're just like, oh cool, this is fun, as a kid, but like replaying it again, it just I'm not huge on like the vast variety that the game
I
has to
understand.
offer.
Uh huh.
So like with that, like yeah, like literally the first warp time travel area is like, two platforming levels. There's no like pitfalls or I mean there's barely any pitfalls in any of them, it's and then like you already have like scuba diving, tiger level, and then jet ski. And man, I do not like that jet ski. Just in general. And like yeah, I'm not huge. I'm just not huge on like, how much variety that they added to the game. And especially when it's not, like I said, precision platforming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not any of that. And like it was fun, it's different. And I know Naughty Dog was like trying, they want to try new things. And that's great. Um but then when it comes to like the follow-up, Crash, the original Crash 4, Wrath of Cortex, that feels like the true sequel. Like it feels like Crash Bandicoot Warped to the
Yeah.
deluxe or whatever. And like I just I love the music is a fantastic. I like Crunch a lot. I think the elementals are fantastic, but at the same time, like for me, it just started like feeling like if I think I would have like dropped the series after Crash 4, honestly. Like not Crash, that version of Crash 4,
Yeah.
Wrath of
Yeah. Right.
Cortex. Um, because
Dang.
like they doubled down on it. They
Yeah.
doubled down on what Crash Warp did, and I'm like, I'm not like Crash Warped had like so much like all this stuff, and then this had like twice twice the amount of the
Yeah.
thing. And like, and don't get me started like on like, like they may not seem that long, but they felt like an eternity. Those loading screens did feel extremely long to me at the time.
Yeah.
So I'll say that's a big. Wrath of Cortex is a big contender for my least favorite in the series.
Hmm.
Like, not because like the presentation I think is great, the music is phenomenal. It just felt like it just felt like Crash Warp 2, and like I know a lot of people love Crash Warped and it's their favorite, it could be their favorite Crash game, but it's not for me. And like I already said, like it doesn't have the tight precision platforming stuff.
I definitely get where you're coming from. Um, yeah, I do want to unpack that real quick. Because I definitely see it. Um, of the three original games, Crash 3 isn't my personal favorite out of those ones either. Ironically, I mean, call me biased or whatever, Crash 1 kind of is because of everything we've talked about with the straightforward platforming, the challenge that it brought, and actually kind of unpacking it across the original trilogy. It's really interesting to see that change in the level design and therefore the challenge where Crash 1 had an abundance of patterns you had to observe and wait for. Stuff, floating platforms going in circular patterns or wonky circular-ish platforms looking at you freaking
Oh yeah.
slippery climb. Stuff like that. So you had to get used to it. You had to see the weird wonky patterns or the back and forth patterns, the in and out stuff, and they must have gotten reception on like Crash 1 feels very hard, it's very challenging, and because video games were still finding their footing and becoming mainstream at that time, they figured, okay, they must have felt, let's dial it down just a bit. Like we still have the outrageous backtracking in certain levels,
Mhm.
but yeah, now we're streamlining the platforming process. So now, yeah, you get some little gaps in bottomless pits, but you don't have all of these interconnected pattern-based platforms you have to time and jump onto. Those are gone. Even in Crash 2, if you've ever noticed, the vertical segments aren't there. They brought them back for Crash 3, but in in much smaller of a scale than they were in Crash 1 because one notorious level for being like the longest in the game was Sunset Vista. It was filled
Yeah.
with like all these vertical segments where you had to climb up these platforms, and they again brought vertical segments back in Crash 3, but not to that scale. So they did dial back on a lot of that stuff. But yeah, to you and me, it sounds like that's what made Crash 1 so compelling to go through and to learn because the patterns were something you had to. The game stopped and made you observe things, and it wasn't really a game. It's a game to speedrun because speedrunners do it, but it wasn't built for that. So to the casual player, you had to stop and look at what's going on. And it's not like, in universe Cortex was going to make this easy for you. All these islands are very full of these traps, these enemies, these things you have to dodge and look out for. And you feel it. Through Crash being the silent protagonist, you both feel it, player and character, and that's really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And with.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll keep going. All right, go. Oh, you first. You first. Go.
Okay.
Go. Go.
All I was gonna say was, well, I was gonna say, yeah, with Crash 3, what I'm saying, I understand where you're coming from. With that variety, they wanted to bring that adventure sense in with like, okay, well now we're going bigger. And that was like I think the buzzword for the project of 3 when they were developing it, bigger. So you've got all these different time periods being represented. You have Coco becoming playable for the first time. You have all these different vehicles and stuff that are time period appropriate, things like that. But we're still a 90s video game, so the controls aren't always there, or levels feel like they go on for longer than they should. And because we're going
Mm-hmm.
bigger, with everything, not even with the level design and the worlds and the aesthetic, but also with the collectibles, because now we've got relics. There are time trials. You need to get fucking gold or platinum to get 105%. And then you had to unlock the sixth warp room, and you had to like gems you couldn't get in certain levels. I know this was a thing in Crash 2 as well, but not to this degree. Certain levels, I'm thinking like Future Frenzy off the top of my head, and Hang 'em High. You have to freaking like, you realize, oh, there's this color gem, or there's a second clear gem. How do I get that one? Like I didn't see I got all and you can't even get all the boxes in Future Frenzy. You have to freaking
Oh man.
y-
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
you cannot complete that level on your first roundabout. You have to get 5 relics, get that secret warp room unlocked, then go through that. Then you gotta get another couple relics to get to the 3rd level of that warp room, which is then the secret entrance to Future Frenzy, or wherever. You know, Hingham High, I think, is level 2 or 3 in the 6th warp room. You gotta remember all that shit.
Oh yeah. Like, and gosh, like you're just reminding me because like I keep forgetting about the Insane trilogy as well,
Uh-huh.
because like now you're you're unlocking like it. I'm also not a huge fan of like Warped in the remake. I think
Uh-huh.
it kind of like took what I didn't like, but also kind of made it a little bit more hard. I guess like I don't. I'm sorry to shift gears a little bit, but it's like with the Insane trilogy, like yeah, there's like a different flow, and like, I know that they were trying to go for more of a consistency feel
Yeah.
between these 3 different games, but I feel like they did so many changes that made just Crash and Coco feel a little clunky in some parts, especially the vehicles.
Uh-huh.
So like you said, there's like a lot of like specific things that you need to do when you want to like complete like Crash Warped, and like I feel like they even made it tougher, and like to me a little unbearable in the Insane trilogy. So
It's funny you mentioned the jet ski level specifically too, because I actually find that in the original it feels relatively okay to control. In Insane, ooh, that turning, it's so stiff trying to
oh
turn.
my god, hot cocoa can
Oh.
just not just should never just not exist. Just like okay, hear me out. Like if they put it in the final warp room, the secret warp room, fine. But the fact that I have to go through what's it called, road crash or
Road
whatever,
crash.
hit the sign, and then I have an option of either doing the boxes or the gem, or the gem or the
Yeah,
relic,
yeah.
and then I have to do it again, and then like I have to go through road crash, hit the sign, hope to God that I get the platinum, and then realize no, you got gold, and you get kicked out, and it's this whole like, ooh,
It was a
yeah,
very interesting system for sure.
it was very very interesting, but I don't want to hate on Crash 3 like a lot. It's not like that and Wrath of Cortex. Like Crash, okay, Crash Warped and Say Trilogy version and Wrath of Cortex. I'll say are my least favorite of the games. And
Hmm.
it's not saying that they're bad. It's just like they have a different flavor of Crash Bandicoot for them. And
Yeah.
because like yeah, like I'm pretty sure when Traveler's Tales made for or Wrath of Cortex, you know what I mean? Like, um, they just wanted to follow the footsteps of like, hey, let's make another one like this. Like Enter the Dragonfly with Spyro. It's like let's try making what's it called again? With let's
You're the
make that
dragon
year
with Enter the
year of the
Dragonfly.
yeah. Except extremely shorter, but like I'm not mad about that.
If
you
you if
know.
you want an in-depth analysis on all of that stuff and what happened, check out Miharu's video that I edited for. But yeah, include a lot of community members. Um,
Mhm.
it's actually no. It's funny you bring up all of that stuff too, because that was a little something I wanted to talk about as well with Wrath of Cortex. It's actually funny the reasoning behind why it came out as what I called in my video for I did a video a while back on, it was called Crash, Spyro, and Creative Freedom, and I touched a bit on Wrath of Cortex, and it was going to be a more ambitious project, and Mark Cerny was going to head it. But then Universal, being the IP holders, were like,
Hmm.
don't know about that, fam. We kind of wanted to stay kind of the same as what people know it as, so that way it doesn't break off and become too different, which it would kind of do later anyway. But that's why they kind of pinned it on Traveler's Tales to be like, hey, look at what Crash 2 and 3 did. Those are the popular ones. Just kind of following those footsteps, and that's why they did what they did.
Hmm.
And seeing that Crash 3 was the latest platformer for the series at that point in time, but also the one of the original three that did have the most buzz about it and was the most critically received. Um, that's why they took heavily from Crash 3. So we get a whole bunch of vehicles and underwater levels and stuff like that, but they do feel clunkier and stuff because they just needed to figure out how to do Crash on PS2, so and Xbox and
Yeah.
GameCube. So like, it was the first multi platform game platformer. So um, there was a lot to figure out there. And
Yes.
with Warped, they had a clear vision, but like I said, it was the concept of going bigger, which is why we have all the variety that we do, and why we have as many collectibles to grab as they put in there. It still hits the same beats for how to get those collectibles and things as Crash 2 had, like I said before, but like they tried to step it up a bit, and it makes it feel like more of kind of a chore to complete Crash 3. And I feel like, sadly, again, those aspects, now talking about Crash 4, they borrowed that kind of stuff too. And you gotta fucking go through and you got two versions of the game to play. You gotta go through, get all 6 gems. You gotta find where the hidden one is. Then you gotta do inverted, and you gotta find where that hidden gem is. And then you gotta do the time trials. Then you gotta do the game fucking perfect, the level perfect in one go for the perfect relic, and it becomes a fucking chore and a half. Um, which is why people say, just like with Crash 3, if you look at it, it's similar. People say Crash 3 for its time back in '98, and with Crash 4 now, those games are fun, but trying to get everything, they start asking a lot from you at that point. But then even comparatively with Crash 3 to Crash 4, um, it it's okay enough because of how bite-sized the level design is, and that's just because of PS1 limitations and everything, and how bite-sized the game in general is. You
Hmm.
can beat Crash 3 without having to go for everything relatively quick in about maybe 2 to 3 hours tops or so. Crash 4, I found out recently that some speedrunner who 106% the game as fast as possible took him 6 hours. That's
Yeah,
fucking
I saw that.
crazy.
I well, for me, like I did try doing a speed run, like all in one sitting speed run once, and it did take me 12. Like my slowest was not my slowest. My fastest time was around like almost 13 hours to 106%.
Dang.
So like I have it on my Twitch somewhere, but but, but I don't recommend that. But like if you love, like, if you do love the game, and if you could be like that one guy who did like 6 hours, I'm so impressed. I was so impressed by that. I'm like, oh my god, I could only do like half, like, you did it half the time that I did. And but like he's like, yeah, I could do it. And like, doing for 13 hours is like no feat either. It's still
Yeah.
half, that's half your day. But
The funny thing
I think
about
it's like a,
sorry,
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Discord everyone, we talk over each other by accident. Um, so no, I was gonna say was this was an offshoot question actually that I'm just coming up with right now as we're talking about speedrunning and with how technical Crash 4 is. Um, Abdul had shown off that you can actually get the platinum relics by not doing the triple spin. So do you find doing the triple spin and implementing those into your runs easier to get the platinum relics, or have you kind of done a mix of like use triple spin when it's for certain levels when it's necessary, and other levels just kind of going through as quick as you can? Like, what's your? I guess what I'm asking is what is your preferred method for going through and getting the platinum relics? Because I feel like that's something that I have trouble with. I don't like time trials in general for any kind of game.
Hmm.
So when Crash does it,
Fair.
like it's kind of a chore. So asking for fucking platinum is like fucking outrageous to me, but I gotta do it. I still haven't 106% in it yet at all, and you've done it like a dozen times over. So I guess that's one question I actually did have for you.
Okay. So oh my God, adore the triple spin. I loved it. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people hate it. But I adore that move so much. And like I'll just say with like because with going back to my favorite Crash games, um Crash Team Racing, like it's like how do you like adapt something from like CTR like into a platformer? Like how
Uh
do you do
huh.
the opposite? How do you do the opposite? Like um with that, it's like when they gave Crash the triple spin, it surprised me. I was like, "Huh? That's not the running shoes." And to be honest, I hate the running shoes. I don't I actually hate I hate run buttons in games like sometimes or like a running option that
Uh
like
huh.
you have to unlock. I think it's just tedious. It's just like with like going back to like Wrath of Cortex and Warped, it's like so I can't get this. I can't get like the highest thing without.
Yeah.
Or you could because I know yeah you could technically get the platinums without the triple spin, but it's just I just like how it feels because it's like a rhythmic, a three thing
Yeah.
rhythmic
Yeah.
spin. It feels like how Mario has like that triple jump and it's so satisfying to pull off.
Yeah.
Like it feels like Crash's version of that. That's how it feels, and it does feel like CTR's boost mechanics to me.
Uh
Like
huh.
that's how and like, but just put it in a platformer.
It does make everything much more strategic. It makes that was the thing I really liked about the handling, the physical handling of the characters, how they felt to control in Crash 4 specifically. They don't feel quite like anything else. People obviously notice the jump from how they felt in N-Sane. We even touched on that here. To Crash 4, it is a lot different. It's not as clunky. It's not as, it feels very pinpoint, very specific, very technical. And I guess with how big everything is, like the levels and stuff, and with the different abilities the characters have, and having to switch between two, since Crash and Coco are like one class of character for how they feel, but then Dingo feels different from Crash, Cortex feels different from Coco, Tana feels different from the both of them. They all feel different from one another. So like having to bounce off of Cortex back into Crash or Dingo Doll back into Coco, like uh, you have to kind of get used to all of that. But because of how the button mapping is, everything feels, everything's the same across all the characters, but they have their different
Yes.
feels. Um, Baking
With
that
that,
into your speed run.
yeah. Like, well, here's the thing with that. Like, with the variety, I complained about variety like earlier with like Crash Warped and Wrath of Cortex. Is that like, yeah, they had a bunch of different vehicle segments and just didn't feel like where they were like not Crash move set like if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, when you play as Cortex, Dingo Dial, and Tana, that's all of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think yeah, that's all of them.
If you spin the TV 15,000 times in inverted, you actually unlock Ripperoo. But
Oh my God, please. um, no, like with that, it's like, but it's still like they still focus on that precision platforming stuff.
yeah.
Like that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's different. It's it's different, but it's still focused on the same thing. Like it's just like a different move set, but like I'm still focusing on my precision and my platforming. It's just now I have to strategically use my brain with Cortex's thing, or I have to time my wall jumps or my whatever Dingodile does.
Yeah. Like you're
The
floating and
suck.
stuff, and yeah,
No, no, the suck,
The
as in
suck.
Lou Sutter said.
my god, I forgot you said that. Bring the suck.
Yeah, yes, but like, and like I could even bring like the mask in this. I didn't mention this about Wrath of Cortex and Warped, but like I was not a fan of the power ups. I do not like the power ups
The
in
tiptoe.
Crash.
Everyone's favorite, the tiptoe.
My favorite move. Like, no, but it's just like the body slam. You don't really use it. You don't use it.
Uh-huh.
You don't use that body slam. The late like the double jump, it would only be used for like certain parts, and I feel like even the triple spin would just yeah, it's cool that it makes you float and stuff, but it didn't really feel like it felt like I was just gliding, like
Yeah.
I could just skip the whole level. You know what I mean? Like it's
Well,
just skip the whole level.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and don't get me started on the bazooka. Like it's just like, what's the point anymore? Like
What was I gonna say real quick? Yeah, no, the double jump just feels like it was designed to be used in tandem with the tornado spin. So like,
yes.
on its own, you don't have to. When you go into Dynamite, they make you double jump for like a 1-up or a Naku Aku or something, and that's like it. And then like
That's it. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And like here's the thing, like when they introduced the quantum mask in Crash 4, like I was slightly worried. I was slightly worried. I'm
You're
like, oh no.
skeptical.
I was skeptical, like
Uh-huh.
power ups again. Here we go. But oh my god, they're beautiful. They're they're just they're temporary and they're only for that specific section. So it's like, imagine if like, oh hey, here's the double jump tornado spin segment from that one bonus round, right? And then
Mhm.
it's you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's like, it feels like that was only made for that specific segment. And so like keep them in mind, where it's like, okay, I could use this like weird spinning move to glide all the way over here or protect myself until I don't need it anymore. Or like, the flippy move, the flippy mask, or the the gravity mask, and
Mhm.
the I just think all of them work, and they apply to the gameplay very well. Like even like Caputa was like, man, she destroys that tiptoe move.
She does, yeah.
And like even the double jump for for Crash 4, they made it so it's not just a double jump anymore. It feels like they adjusted it so it feels like Crash, you could like adjust your jumps. And
Mhm.
that's very important. I think that's very important with like, a precision platformer, where it's like, oh shoot, I kind of messed up. Here's my second chance of this. And
Yeah.
I feel like the double jump in the other Crash games don't really do that for you. They just kind of like, it's just there for extra height, you know. Um, but this one, it just feels like, oh, I made a mistake, or I could just use that extra boost. Because
Yeah.
like I noticed that like it does slow you down a bit when you like, it slows down your momentum when you use the double jump. But it kind of feels more like a protection jump,
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
which I appreciate a lot. And like even other moves like the slide, I think like, yeah, I hear people talking about like the slide jump and how it feels good, but like but I don't know, like something about the slide kind of feeling like it kind of feels like a Donkey Kong roll or Donkey Kong Country rolling
Yeah, yeah.
thing, where it's like, oh, I could like slide off to the side and then I could make extra distance and stuff like
And
that. And it just it helps again, like with the whole precision stuff. So
yeah, that was a series first actually that Crash 4 introduced, being able to use the slide in again a more technical, strategic sense. Because I'm thinking of, um, not truck stop, but the actual regular version. What's it called? Hit the road or something like that. I can't remember.
Yes, yes.
Where where you have to slide underneath to get the hidden gem. You have to go. There's a what's it? It's like a nitro and an arrow crate. You have to slide underneath all of that, and when you actually analyze the length of the slide, you then go, okay, like I've deduced, all right, it's 3 crates long. That is your slide. So if you think of everything as tiles, then when you see how and where they place the crates, if you look at horizontally 3 crates long of length, that's how long the slide lasts for. So when you have that in mind and you do a precarious slide off of a crate and get that hang time, that's how you know when it's going to end, so you don't miss the jump and fall. And just observing, it goes back to Crash One's thing of principle of observing how the moves work,
Yes.
how the levels are designed, and using all of that to your advantage to learn the level. And people don't seem to get that because they just write Crash 4 off sometimes as this game is really, really hard, like they did with Crash 1. That pisses me off because there's a lot to appreciate about the fine tuning of how all of that works. That's what makes a good video game, damn it!
No, I agree. I agree. Like, there's a lot of things in like Crash 4 that I just oh my God. I feel like the next like segment is just gonna be gushing about this game now, or like being nit and like even have nitpicks. I have a lot of nitpicks about the game
Oh,
too,
sure,
but
yeah.
like first, like I'll just say, like I just like we talked about, like the movement feels really good to me. Like especially like I did not like the feeling that Insane Trilogy gave Crash. I was really worried that the next game would have been like that, where it feels
Mm-hmm.
a little clunky or a little restrictive. But Crash feels very flexible in Crash 4. Like I said, like you could like adjust a lot of your like precision movements. They do a lot of things to improve like the thing. Like you could slide under a crawl now, and it's just like what?
Yeah,
Like that?
I
It's
didn't know that either.
amazing.
Yeah,
And then
you could
like
slide
there's
off
some
TNTs.
yeah, you slide off TNTs. You'd usually die
Yeah.
when you do that. When what's it called? There's another thing that I lost it, but it's just there's so many cool things that like they added to it, like
The small
oh
spin,
like
the short
oh like
spin,
the short spin. It's like
picking off
yeah,
crates
like
underneath other crates.
oh my goodness, it's so nice. It feels good. Like it lessens my anxiety when I'm spinning like a nitro a TNT sandwich. You know, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like those like TNT sandwiches are like notorious for being like, oh shoot, I'm not touching that. Like
Crash One did it. Jungle Rollers had it,
yeah, exactly.
and
And like
it felt
um
a little. Sorry, real quick. It just felt a little weird in Crash One at first because sometimes it would work, sometimes it didn't, no matter how precise you were. And I guess they must have taken a look at that and been like, okay, well, we can do that, but we're going to create this very specific move that's a shortened version of the main move that is built specifically for picking off little in between crates like that. And we're going to build challenges around that.
yeah, but like gosh, it just feels good. It feels really good. I like how the other characters feel too. Like Tana's my least favorite, but like it still doesn't, it's not like it doesn't bother me. It's just like when you have like four characters to control, you're like, like not as exciting and not as different. Just kind of
Mm-hmm.
zip line your way or whatever. But yeah, like I just really like how all the characters feel. The whole like I feel like each level too, like what I oh man, what I really like about Crash 4 is that like it while it doesn't have a noticeable endpoint, I still get that sense of adventure that like Crash 1 gave. Because like you got the map, you got the map, but like they use that to their advantage to slowly progress the difficulty.
Yeah.
And like yeah, you might find like maybe like the first level hard, but then like the next one will be harder, or the next one will be harder, and but you could feel that. Like
Mhm.
each level is slowly getting longer. You see that dastardly tape. That you see that tape move farther and farther and farther each level you go. And it's
Yeah.
like this reminder. It's like don't die until you get that thing, you know. But like it's such a fun challenge, and it's like it's progressive. You know, you're working your way, and you're learning. And I think another thing too is like I know this was like a big one. A lot of people are like, "Oh man, the hidden crates." Like, okay, here's my take on this real quick.
Take it from the guy who's 106%
Uh,
of the game a dozen times over.
yes, I think hidden crates are fine. And here's the thing, like with Crash 1, 2, and 3, the original trilogy, like we talked about this earlier where you can't complete a level without getting all of, without getting a specific thing or warping, backtracking, or going to a different level. There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those in the original trilogy where it's like, hey, you want to finish Air Crash? Psych, you can't do that because like you have to go to this level to unlock other Air Crash so you can enter from a different route.
Yeah.
And and then it's like another, like the stupid pterodactyl secret from like
I was waiting for a moment to bring that up.
I
Egipus
that's so,
Rex.
like it's like that dinosaur level is so fun, but like it's hidden in such the worst way possible.
It's so
And
vague.
it Yeah, and like that's the thing, like even like counting like the Crash one like invisible like steps, it's those are arcade, very arcadey secrets. And you know, it's common knowledge now. That's the thing. It's common knowledge to know all this stuff. Like if you played Crash 2 and then you see like how do I get the blue gem?
Oh
You
yeah.
you're you can't. You can't know that unless you really experiment or you read it in a guide or you read it on a FAQ somewhere because like how? Like there's nothing in game.
Well,
Like
actually,
Insane Trilogy does now. Okay.
there is yeah, no, that is true. Oh no, the hints and tips. No, you're definitely right about that. I actually found out they did put a very subtle hint about how to get the blue gem specifically in the OG Crash 2. So if you get the clear gem and you break all the crates because you've learned that's what you have to do. You realize when you go through and Crash is throwing up the gem and the
Oh
crystal,
yes.
and you're like, okay, well, wait, there's another gem there. Did I miss something? And you go back in and you comb through the whole thing and you're like, what the hell? And you get to the end, it'll say boxes out of 0. And that's when you go, oh, I
Oh.
need to go through and not hit anything. So they do put something in there for you.
Interesting. Maybe like it's been a while. It's been a long time. So, but still, it's like like sometimes like you'll think about it. It's like, wait a second, how the heck am I supposed to do that?
But
Like I
true,
there's
yeah,
something
yeah.
like even because with Crash 4 they did that. They have like a markings on the wall on
Yes,
for all four gems, I believe. But
they do, yeah.
I'll get to like this for like my least favorite aspects. But like like, at least they tell you. There's parts in the game where they actually tell you, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh hey, if you look over here, if you jump on this, like in this order, then you get a red
Something will
gem.
happen, yeah.
So what I was gonna go with this is that I rather have hidden crates and like you said, pay attention rather than those weird like arcadey secrets, because now after playing the game so many times I notice I could beat the game like, well, half the I could beat half the game normally by just going through like just going through the through the route you know
Mm-hmm.
so like there's no more, oh shoot, I'm missing this thing. Like all the color gems are along the way. like all the color gems are along the way. So like you don't like, obviously if you miss them, you could go back and grab it, but like there's no there's no forced backtracking.
Oh yeah, no.
There is no forced backtracking unless you did miss this thing and this thing. But like I like how devious some of the locations are for some of these boxes because it makes you pay attention. Like people think like, oh, Crash. Like I don't know. I do like that sense of like imperfection. When you like, dang it, where is it? And then
Yeah,
like when you find out, sometimes like it just gets embedded in your brain, and then you're like, now I remember.
yeah,
I remember where it is. And that's how it felt with me, like, playing the original games. It's like, now I know this secret, so now I know not to go to that level yet, or this and that. And I appreciate that in Crash 4. Because it's like, it's not making you do, like, silly things like, oh man, press this thing. Like, yeah, you could, like, you jump on the thing to get the red thing, but the red gem, but they show you, they show
yeah.
you in game. Um, Only thing, like, I wish there was like an indicator. Like, I noticed it's in the PC version, and you could use like your cursor on the map to highlight it. Like in the console games, they don't have a way to tell you which level has the colored gem.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But like, if you use your cursor on the map, it'll be like, "Oh, hey, there's a colored gem here." It's like, "Oh,
I actually
cool."
didn't know that.
Yep. Having played this on how many different consoles already. um, but yeah, like that's I just like I love the feel. I love like this like the art style of like Spyro Reignited, like being you know adopted or adapted into this.
Yeah.
Like it makes everything, like as an artist, it always feels like fascinating to see. Like I was not really a huge fan of like the art style, the 4K art style, and Insane Trilogy, and I think they toned it a little bit better in CTR, in Nitro Field. I think they made it look nicer in that
Uh-huh.
game, but at the same time, it's just like I still kind of like, let's see where else this could go, you know, and
Yeah.
but like I like that a lot, and the you know controls, the flow of the game. I don't think the main game is that hard, but also like I'm not like I don't think there's an issue with like how much there's jam packed in it though, because I feel like, to me, Crash 4 also feels like, imagine if you jammed like, yeah, like Insane Trilogy, right? Like you jammed 3 games in one.
Mhm.
So like I took it as that, like that they're taking that perspective of like, okay, Crash 4, let's just make it like 3 games, the full extent of the game. Let's make it 3 games long.
Yeah, it did feel very much like that. It reminds me too. It calls to mind like Mario Galaxy 1 or 2, where after you've already beaten the main game, there's more stuff to do because you can play in the first game the whole thing over again as Luigi, or in the second game you unlock the green stars. So it's at that point. In those examples, it's more to push you to keep going because there's still more stuff to do. Um, Even though arguably with Galaxy One, it's the whole game over again, just as another character, and two,
Yeah, yeah.
and two at least, it's an extended part of the game, which I think Odyssey would later adopt with all its moons and stuff. In fact, Odyssey might be a better example because there are just so fucking many moons to grab, and it's completely up to you how you want to grab them for the most part and in what order.
Yeah.
And so with Crash 4, they give you a shitload of gems, both regular and inverted, and really, when it comes to the difficulty and it comes to how much you as a completionist or as someone who wants to go for more than just what the base game gives you, if you're looking for something more but it still feels too overwhelming, all I would say as someone who hasn't 106% of the game yet, even once, would be to at least go for what you want to go for until you're satisfied. It's like a meal. The plate's in front of you, the food's in front of you, it's damn good food, But at some point, you're going to start kind of feeling full. Stop there. Don't overstuff yourself because you're not going to feel too good afterward. And Crash 4 gives you enough to chew on, quite literally with this analogy, that it is satisfying and it is fun. It's still, Crash 4 brings this sense of fun that the older games introduced to us, the kids of, the 90s and stuff. So, like, having that back for a modern audience and in a modern style is really cool. And stuffing it with as much as they did, while at first it does seem very overwhelming, and with the stipulations of what you have to do, the max of everything, not the gold relics, the platinum ones, getting perfect relics, having to go for the platinum badge medallion relic thing for the flashback tapes. But like, the more you practice at it, the more you learn it. You just have to stop, observe, and learn.
Yeah.
And just go at your own pace. I know sometimes the game does make you not stop and you have to, keep jumping, keep doing. But when you can, stop and learn. And the game, in its level design and in its difficulty, does teach you how to do that. So by the time you get to fucking like toxic tunnels or some shit, you are like, okay, I'm in it, let's do it. And they barely give you any stopping points.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. Like, I think my buddy, what's it called, Nitro Rad, actually made like a good video a few years ago, uh, talking about that. Like, as a newcomer to the series,
Yeah,
he
I
was just
remember watching that review.
like yeah, he was basically like, yeah, just I enjoyed the game, and like, he does. No one's telling you to be like, hey, I need to finish. I have to force myself to finish this. Like, no one's forcing you to like, you know, play through like an entire game if you don't want. And like, I know like maybe the difficulty and the change, and maybe there's some people that like just not are not huge on like the precision platforming stuff like I am
Hmm.
with like, but like it, yeah, it's just go at your own pace, and like, if it's too hard, but if you could overcome like the main game, like there, like that's cool.
Yeah.
But then like, there's some other things like if you really want to push yourself to like beat the game, like actually like get the 100% ending, or actually get 106%, it's is it all depends if you actually just if you do enjoy the game or not. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's fine. It's like, I think that's fine. Like, it's just, for me, it's always been like, oh man, like I want to play. I love these two games, like the first two games so much, and like it, I haven't been this happy, like playing a Crash Bandicoot game until four. Like four, just like I cried. I cried so hard when I like got to the epilogue and stuff, and like luckily luckily I didn't watch the 106 ending until like I got both I got both endings, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
watch these together at the same time, and it's gonna be satisfying. It was kind of fun. It was really fun, like just having that feeling again. It's just having that feeling of like, this game is tight, it's fun, it's colorful. Is it overwhelming? Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming, and like there's a couple things in there that I'm just like, this could change. Like they could have changed this a little bit. There's like I'm gushing about it, but yeah, like, and it is my favorite game of all time. But like that doesn't mean it's perfect. Yeah,
Hmm.
insanely perfect relic. It's like, but no, like I agree that there's like a couple things in the game that like, they could change. Maybe it's not necessary, and like oh man, are we gonna talk about my least favorite parts of the game now?
So right before we get to that, there is one more question that
Okay.
we hadn't touched on yet. But before that, I did also want to say one more piece too about Crash 4 before we jump back on it after the next question, where it's funny too about the pacing and all that. Only one little thing I wanted to add on to that, where the game was made with us longtime fans in mind. But it's funny because and Lou did warn us, and it was like an interview or a state of play or something where the game was going to be tough even for veterans. It was really funny to see how hard it kicked veterans' asses, and mine included. Like, um, it was really telling watching people like Kedicris with his stream series on Crash 4 or Teal Game Master with his Let's Play, where inherently as a Crash fan, you're like, I've played them all. I know Crash. I'm going to jump into this one. It's going to be a good time. I'm not going to know where everything is, but I'll be able to find it easily. It's a Crash game. You know, what could go wrong? And then only to find you die a lot in those later levels, and you miss stuff, and there are crates you can't find, or the hidden gem is really fucking tucked away somewhere. And
Mm-hmm.
trying and watching them, I love Teal and I love Caddy, but like going and watching them specifically, and others too, I'm sure have done this as well, where you cannot progress until you find everything in the level, but it takes you a while to do so. It's really funny how like the game Crash 4 plays with your fucking, as a lifelong fan, it plays with your kind of expectations and your experience. It plays with your experience. It's like, okay, well, you think you know Crash Bandicoot, but like with our game, it's you're still gonna have to think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, where stuff is, and it's
I
so funny to see it.
I agree. I agree with that because like you know like I came in with the same expectation too. It's like oh man, I'm a veteran. I play Crash 1 and 2 like 1 2 like annually. So it's like or like so
Yeah,
it's like I know. And then I go in and I'm like I'm dying so much. But it's like that's the thing. It's like I this is a new game. You know, this is a
yeah.
brand new game. Like with Insane Trilogy, like yeah, the controls might be a little different, but you're familiar. You are
You know where things
familiar.
are. Yeah,
You know where things are. Yeah, they might have changed a few things here and there, but for the most part, you know where things are. And with this game, it's like, no, you don't. You go through that first level and you didn't even see that the crates behind the log. Man, like,
yeah,
like and then like even like the hit discovering that hidden gems are a thing, and
yeah.
it's like I remember seeing that I'm like, ooh, it's like the crystals, but actually they actually tried. Like I think that was the one thing with the crystals in the older games is like they're just in your face most of the time, so it didn't feel rewarding finding crystals in the old Crash games, to be honest.
uh,
Um,
the funny thing is that even if you want to go real specific with certain experiences on games for what Crash 4 could have drawn from with how it handles things, I would even liken the hidden gems to some of the gems in Twin Sanity because some of them are there and it's like, oh hey, I came across it, cool. Others are well hidden and you're like, oh shit, I had to go off the beaten path over here to find it. um
yeah.
Kind of feel like that too.
I love that. It's just God, it just felt really nice because it did feel like a nice amalgamation game. You
Yeah,
know, like it took the best bits. I feel like it took the best bits from every Crash game. Even like I'll even say like it maybe some like there's some aspects of Titans. I don't know what. Maybe like his little shoes. Like I think he has the little toesies in his shoes, but like that's from Titans, I think.
yeah,
Like
it is the little like paw pad like soles on
yeah,
the shoes. Yeah.
it's like oh wait, even the Scorporilla is hidden in one of the. It's hidden somewhere. I think they're like yeah, I think Scorporilla is hiding in like something in Crash 4. I think I
Really?
remember seeing that. Ooh, are we blowing your mind right now? Hold on.
They
Yeah, I think let me see. Scorporilla Crash 4.
straight up brought Scorporilla back for Crash on the Run, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, I think there was like a thing you could see, and they're like where they're trying to make Scorporilla. It's like a drawing.
What the hell? I don't remember that. What level or what
But
world?
I think it was a Cortex Castle.
Interesting. I'll have to go back and look at that. I legit didn't
Uh,
know that.
well, surprise!
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you when I can. But or I think I sent it now. But yeah, like they hid little things in there, like aspects of Twinsanity were in there, and like yeah, people thought like, oh yeah, they're erasing Wrath of Cortex, but no,
Oh, jeez. That whole
they
discourse.
oh yeah, it's like no, they're embracing it, and actually
Yeah.
like I think that's what I like about this game too. It's like or like some games that just like I think with like what's that game recently? Sonic Frontiers, right?
Frontiers.
Like so like I'm not a huge Sonic fan, but like I played Frontiers and there was some like dialogue that like surprised me. And like it was just like, oh man, remember Sticks? And it's like, whoa!
Huh?
Like
Oh my god, they referenced sticks?
they reference Sticks, they reference like the jet what's this called? The what's the snowboarding game or jetboarding game?
Oh, Sonic Riders?
Yeah, they reference the birds from them, and it's like,
Oh,
what?
really?
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
it's
cool.
just like so it's like that. It's like they're not being like, oh, it's Sticks or whatever. Oh, it's Crunch or the twins. Like, no, it's like, oh, they're here. They're hidden.
That's neat.
Like, it's like I embrace that. Like, even when like, CTR had the whole thing with everybody, like all the characters showing up. That made me so happy because it's like they're not shunning post Naughty Dog Crash,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you're not shunning them. They're like embracing the history, No matter like how you take it, like it's still Crash, even if you don't like those tattoos. Like it's still it's
Hey,
Crash.
it was on the pattern was on the surfboard in Rude Awakening right when the
See,
game starts.
there you go. See, they're embracing it. Yeah, like yeah, maybe at the time it probably was like, like I'm not a fan of this, and that's fine. But like I'm sure like there's fans of it out there. There's fans of those games. Like I'm not huge on the gameplay, but I did have my time with it.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, I loved Titans of Over Mutant as a kid. I still love them to this day, but the hype was certainly real. I've said it many times before. I don't know if it's because I don't know if I'm just that impressionable or they were really onto something. Like each developer was onto something, but every time Crash was handled by someone else, and then design changes would happen with the characters and the worlds, I never really minded most of the stuff that they did. Like the only unanimous thing I agree with is that Crash Boom Bang is just not a very good game. Like that's about
oh,
as
oh my God! I forgot.
yeah. We haven't touched on that
I,
yet.
I even have the what's it called the stylus, the pre-order stylus from the Japanese version of that.
Oh
I,
damn.
like how this game is bad, but I love Japanese Crash's design so
Oh
much.
yeah, yeah. Um
That's the first Crash. That's the only Crash game I've ever returned. Maybe I should have
damn.
said that. I should have just said that for my worst.
That's like the obvious one. A lot of guests in the past have been like, okay, I know y'all expect me to say Crash Boom Bang, but this... no, they've done the same thing you've done. Okay, this might be a little controversial, but such and such game, is this? And I understand it. It's not like we're trying to save ourselves or you guys are trying to save yourselves by telling me and the audience, what your least favorite game is. If it's not the ones that people, this actually ties into what I was going to say about what we were just talking about right now, like with embracing the legacy, embracing the history, like it's not about saving yourselves on. Okay, well, listen, guys, let me uh, justify this by saying, let me clarify, not liking a certain game, whether it's Crash 3, Twin Sanity, Wrath of Cortex, Titans Over Mutant, the Game Boy games, people will talk about why, it's those games aren't their favorite, and it's never because they think that they're bad. It's really just because it's got elements or aspects they felt. they either weren't expecting and didn't really gel with, or it could have been tweaked or something. And it's that discussion that I want to, get started within the community. Like, I want to bring everyone together and be like, okay, let's discuss why this Crash game's good. This one's maybe not as good. These aspects were carried over here and this and that. Because we had to live through that period of, it was what, like a good 12-year period or so, when Crash 1 came out to when Over Mutant came out, and the different changes that happened between the different devs in that time, and the fans that weren't gelling with those changes. People just completely going off on Titans of Over Mutant and hating it. It's the scum of the series. It's a stain on the franchise. It's never going to recover. Stuff like that. And after Mind Over Mutant, we got what, a couple mobile games on iPhone, and then the hiatus.
The hiatus.
And that leads into my next question. What were you doing in that gap where there were no Crash games? Like, what, and not even so much regarding Crash, like wishing there was a new game. Like, just kind of, where were you? What games were you playing? Or what art were you making? Or who were you affiliated with at the time?
Oh, man. What year was that? I'm trying to remember.
That goes from about 08, 010, or 2010 to 2016, like around there. That gap.
Okay, I think that was like the beginning of my maybe like going from college, no, not college, from high school to college era. But it's just kind of like, I still play Crash. I'll still play Crash like once in a while, and let's see, yeah, I would still play Crash once in a while, like, and still draw him. And I think I was pretty frequent on the, like I said earlier, like Crash Mania forums, and like just posted like art on DeviantArt, and just I made like a couple animatics, I think, of like just like Crash stuff, and like just having the fun discussions with people. Made some good friends, met different artists in there, and yeah, I think it was just kind of like, oh hey, let's. God, it's so hard to think. It's so hard to think back, but like I just remember like, yeah, Crash was still around for me because like I still expressed my love for the character. It's I still like, it encouraged me to like draw like all these things. Like I started making like my own original characters, like not like Crash Bandicoot OCs, but like like my own characters, like my,
yeah.
Yeah, and like I'll say that a lot of them are like inspired by Crash. It's just drawing fan art of Crash and all this stuff, drawing like my own things. I think at one point I really wanted to make a Crash fan comic, and
Oh my god.
I really wanted to make a Crash fan comic, and I what's it called? I tried, but I found out I'm not really a writer. I'm not. I'm not.
Same.
I could draw things, but I don't think I need that direction. I'm not quite the writer, so. I think I did the poor thing at the time and was like, oh man, I'm making a Crash Bandicoot comic, Crash Bandicoot the comic, and it's like going to be this epic adventure, and there's like no plans. I just made promo stuff for it at the time, and it's like it just never went anywhere. I think I did 2 pages, and like I had this like epic intro where like Crash and Cortex were like, I don't know, met like the king of Gazmoxia or whatever. And then I posted that, and then nothing after. Nothing after. So, but just like,
that reminds me of the fan stuff that I did. No, I said same earlier because I talked about this in on my Let's Play channel, we have a podcast on there too, and we were talking about like a bunch of like kids WB stuff and all that. And this will lead into Crash, I swear. There was a show on there. Do you remember Lunatics Unleashed? Have you seen that before?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
so the concept of taking the Looney Tunes characters, these are their descendants, like, you know, years and years later, and they're superheroes. I did the same thing with Crash. And I made these comics and they're superheroes and whatever. But I'm like 11 or 12 at this time, so my drawings look like crap, and the writing isn't very good at all. They just borrow from a bunch of stuff that I was watching at the time, and I never put them up publicly, not out of embarrassment or anything. I mean, now I'm definitely not going to put them out, but I just never thought about it. I had no outlet at the time for that, so like they were just for myself, for the family, for my brother to read. Um, and I think back on it, and yeah, it was cringe, but it was really funny. Just the fact that I even got that idea at all. And then one of the things I did try to push on this channel back in like I think 2016 or 15 or something was I wanted to do a fan film on Crash, and I wanted, before we knew Ensign was ever going to become a thing, I wanted to retell the original three games. Well, really, it was the story of the first game, but with elements and characters from 2 and 3. Like Uka Uka was going to be in there, Engine and Coco would be in there. But you watch them progress through the three islands, and you also get a bit of Aku Aku and Uka Uka's backstory and stuff. So it was
Mhm.
supposed to be a story of like connection and family, and it was kind of Aku Aku's film, sort of, but like because the backstory of his, you know, fallout with Uka Uka and their battle, how he banished him and everything, that was, I wanted to show that because we never got to
Mhm.
see that. You get hints of it in some of the games, but you never, that's something they've never touched on. And that was very interesting to me. So it was something I was able to kind of write into this kind of retelling of the first game, again, with these other elements of 2 and 3 in there. And I got some friends on it with me, and we were scripting out, trying to do concept art for the characters and stuff to see how to portray them. And it never materialized. But
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I could say that too with the whole like my thing had a lot of like scrapped ideas from Twin Sanity, and I just really wanted to like do something with that, and it's like it
mhm.
just never fell through. But but yeah, it's I made a lot of fun fan art, and like I think like I said, like Twin Sanity was like a big one for that, and I don't know. And then I went to college. I went to art school, and I did a lot of things with, just studied and blah blah blah. But then I think around that, around that time, I think that's when the I started like hearing murmurs from like old like Crash Mania friends, and they're like, "Oh man, hearing this," and like, I don't want to get my hopes up, I just I'm worrying about like my educations and and my but but of course like that's gonna after like how many like 8 to 10 years like you're just gonna be like you start believing like, oh man, it's not gonna happen, it's over, like I'm not gonna see my boy ever again, but it's fine, you came to accept it, it's like and like and if Crash never came back, I think I'd still be okay with it, like it'd
mhm.
still be like he did his importance to me, like he's still very important to me even though he's gone, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But then E3 happened that one year, and then I flipped shit. I even though it was just a logo reveal, or not even a logo reveal, it was it's like, oh, by the way, Crash 1, 2, 3, also Skylanders, here you go. And then I'm like, I don't care right now. I don't care. He said he's coming back, but also Skylanders, and
Yeah, so like I remember not I made a video like not even a week. It was maybe a couple days before Sony's E3 thing happened, and I voiced my distaste for that idea because that was one way people were speculating and wanting Crash to come back. We were throwing the community were throwing ideas around like, okay, a reboot, a remaster, Skylanders, such and such, this and that, port. You know, we were thinking again, like the virtual console thing, that could be a viable way. Crash for Smash, that could be a viable way to get stuff for him, like attention for him again. And the Skylanders, that was just back in that time where I just had this like ever growing rage for Skylanders. And to this day, I still don't care much for the franchise, but I've found little things within it to kind of enjoy on my own. Like the show, for example, the Netflix show, where Imaginators was actually kind of okay. It wasn't great. It's not a fantastic game, but you know, it did improve a lot of things I wanted to see get improved. Because when I tried to get into the series with Spyro's Adventure, because, you know, Spyro's name is fucking in it. I expected him to have all this representation, all this love, all this, you know, how we were saying with Crash 4, kind of contributions to the franchise, you know, this love for what came before, and they just didn't, Toys for Bob didn't do that. And I was like, why? Why would you, like, boast that Spyro's in it and then not do anything with him? By the way, why did you make him look ugly? I don't care for that redesign.
Yeah.
I still don't care for that redesign. But seeing how, you know, so I made that video of like, okay, why would you want Crash in this if they treated Spyro so poorly the way they did? And then we got that confirmation. And you can see in my reaction video, I was like, that was real. Come on, that was real. And I saw his design, and I'm like, I don't know. He doesn't look bad, but he doesn't look that great either. And like, I've come to, you know, appreciate his Skylanders design. I don't have really any problems with it. But seeing the B-roll footage, seeing, you know, of Thumpawumpa Island, seeing how they were handling Crash's inclusion, I was like, okay, hey, we've got some really nice representation of the franchise
Oh,
here.
100%. Because, like, you know, actually going back to it, like, it made me think, like, I thought his Skylanders moveset would have been a perfect Smash Bros.
Oh,
Moveset.
for
Like,
sure, yeah.
like, you could tell that they paid attention with this, yeah, even though it's Skylanders and it's stuff, but it's, it was good. It felt like a fun, like, little thing for Crash.
Yeah. No, no. Plus the fact too that you could plus the fact that you could play as him and Cortex outside of just Thumpawumpa Islands. You can play damn near the whole game as them if you wanted to, which I tried. Yeah, I had my little pack of other Skylanders I had gotten with Spyro's Adventure back in like what 2011 or whatever. I had them as well that are that were also compatible with Imaginators, but I wanted to take, you know, Crash and Cortex out for that ride, so I played as them for as much of the game as I could, and that is what kind of pushed me to play. Because originally too in that video I was like, okay, I do want to get those figures. I might have to get the game to get those figures, but I'm not going to play the full game. That was what I originally said. I was like, I'm just going to play Thumpawumpa Islands, and then I might just sell the game afterward. But I ended up not doing that because seeing how, again, those tweaks and stuff they did, where I was like, even just in a Skylander sense, where they improved on things that I didn't like about Spyro's Adventure, and I'm like, okay, interesting. Well, since the Wumpa Islands was such a good experience, what is the rest of the game like? So that prompted me, Crash prompted me to play the rest of Imaginators, and as it turned out, there were a couple things, levels, boss fights, I was like, it's not that bad. This was actually pretty well handled. Plus, that was the one game in the series that they put Spyro in as the focus for the majority of the cutscenes in the story. I'm like, okay, that's what I wanted from the first game. It took 6 games
Took a
to get
while,
here, but you know,
ah, at least they did that, you know.
but yeah, when they said that the remastered trilogy was coming out, I'm like, oh shit! Like, I did not ever think. You know, I almost cried watching fucking that insane announcement trailer. They called it the comeback trailer. I'm like, oh my god! And just seeing, you know, doing those direct comparisons where they show the old and then show the new, and I'm like, it was early footage, of course. You look back on it, it's really early, and the frame rate's not that good. But it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, seeing the first game I ever played in my life, my childhood, because I've seen remakes of movies and shit before, you know, and that wasn't really, it didn't do much for me in that nostalgic aspect to where I like really sat back and was like, oh my god, this thing I grew up with looks new and fresh. But with Crash, it happened because Crash is one of the earliest things I can ever recall for anything. So like seeing Insane's footage, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a very special moment. Like it's just like imagine that, like, oh my God, where were you when I was in high school? And now I'm like
seriously, yeah.
I'm wrapping up college, and I'm living with my girlfriend now, and it's all this like this like they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, you have no idea like how happy I am right now. Like my roommates and my girlfriend were all like, "Oh, what? What's happening?" Like, there's a part of me you don't know about. But no, I was super grateful when that happened because, like, like even though like I'm not huge into like the Insane trilogy, like I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah.
I it didn't just spark interest in Crash again. It sparked interest in it helped pioneer like the resurgence, I want to say, of other other games like being
Yeah.
revived in some form. Because like yeah, of course, like if Crash comes back, is Spyro coming back? Of course they're gonna like if it's successful, of course he will. And then like others follow suit, and like to some degree, like some good, some bad, but
Yeah.
but still, it's I really appreciate it, and being like now that I think about it, there was a during that time, I feel like it was kind of like a platformer drought. There
Oh,
was not
yes.
many like
Yeah.
right, correct, right, yeah. There was not that many like platforming games out there, and like that's more my thing, right? It's more okay. Like is this gonna like is there any more platform games like that are gonna spark my interest? And there were some, there were a few, but it's not like they weren't like everywhere. Like they weren't
Yeah.
common anymore. Like extinct, slowly extinct. And like I guess like was that like during was Smash happening around that time? Like Smash 4?
Smash 4
I don't
was,
remember.
yeah, that was like the early 2010s. Um,
Yeah, cause like I think I was like getting into like more Nintendo stuff around that time
Me too,
because
yeah.
you know
Mario,
I was not because I was not really a Nintendo kid. Starting with a PlayStation, and I think the closest to me was like just getting like Pokemon on my Game Boy, and then but I didn't really get to dabble with things until I think yeah, it's the start of the Crash drought, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I could play some of these games. Like let me see, let me go backwards like from the Wii, and like I bought a Wii U and was incredibly disappointed because there weren't any games on it, and um, like I felt like compared to like Mario and Sonic, like Crash was pretty niche compared to them. So like I think what drew me was more like little guy, like more of the little guy kind of characters or like
hmm
games. Because like you always hear about Mario, you always hear about Sonic, and then like if it's about Crash, sometimes it's like who is he, or like or like oh but he's dead, like or so for me like I think I started dabbling with like oh I learned about like Nintendo's like really obscure stuff, like oh I like the Ice Climbers because who the heck are the Ice Climbers, and then it just kind of but like that got me like so intrigued with like more niche Nintendo games.
yeah.
So like and I think that's how I found like the other like there's even more niche ones like I started playing like Starfy, or like I found the Rhythm Heaven series that way because I
Oh,
love
really?
Wario. Like I love Wario, so I was like okay, like this game on the Wii looks like Wario to me. It was like the third Rhythm Heaven game, and I just like kind of went backwards and like just gained another favorite. It's
That's cool.
but I don't know. I have a big appreciation for like kind of like the little guys in gaming, and it just kind of makes me happy to see like some can make a comeback, or like even if you speak out and you're just like, huh, I didn't know there were fans. You know,
Yeah.
like if I say something like Crash Bandicoot, like I'll get like I won't get as many people, but I'll still some people will be like, oh my god, Crash, or like
Yeah.
if I say like Rhythm Heaven, and then like, oh, I love that game. I'm like, really? Like,
It was really telling too. Yeah, because I have all my Crash shirts and some from you where I would wear them, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, I remember Crash." And even though, and they're obviously not people who play the new stuff and know you probably even know about the new stuff, but like they can recall the older games, and it's always fun to run into someone who can at least recall a couple memories about some of the older stuff. And yeah, too, with that like remaster or remake renaissance as we've called it, it was amazing to see just Insane do so well, to where it kicked off Reunited, Nitro Field. It kicked off freaking from other franchises entirely, like Battlefield Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Medieval, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2, Demon Souls, what else? Shadow of the Colossus. We just got that Dead Space remake.
mhm.
Pac-Man
It's just
World
like,
Repack, Klonoa Fantasy Reverie.
yeah,
So
just
much.
so many coming back, and like
KO.
I'm OKO too. He looks great. I never played his game. I've never played his games, but like, man, like his redesign's pretty good. I'll say that.
uh,
But yeah, it's God. I'm trying to think of other things that happened during that time, but it's just it it was just really happy. Like I was just really happy to see something like come back.
mhm.
Really happy to see like yeah, like maybe it was a good thing that Crash like left for a while, just because like maybe like it opened me up a little bit to other things.
Uh-huh.
And like because it's not just like, oh, I'm going to rely on Crash, so maybe like just Crash, but no, like I've been experimenting with other games, and like I said, like starting playing Nintendo games a little bit more like during that time, because like PlayStation didn't really have anything to offer me anymore. So it was nice. It was just nice, like, oh my god, the sun has returned. Like
um, yeah, because for me in that time, it was very interesting because I was really pretty varied. Not a whole lot, not so much so, but enough in terms of what I was playing ever since I was a kid. Because the first couple games I grew up with, you got to think, okay, Crash and Spyro later, Tekken, Mortal Kombat,
oh,
Rayman, and then a bunch of arcade stuff, ports like Sinistar, Bubbles, Qbert. So stuff like that. Um, Pac-Man, of course. So both
mhm.
arcade Pac-Man and Pac-Man World. So there were these platformers, racing games, CTR, speed punks, cool borders, fighting games, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. So that all on PS1. That was my childhood from around that time. But
Mhm.
in the gap, because that happened when the industry shift was going on. So how you were saying, yeah, platformers weren't really around that time because shooters and beat 'em ups and hack and slash games became mainstream. They got fucking popular. Call of Duty was a big
Mhm.
helper with that in terms of shooters. So you get Call of Duties, Battlefields, Gears of War, stuff like that, Halo, um, and then you get your hack and slashers like Bayonetta came out sometime later. You got God of War, and then even uh, developers who used to do platformers were now doing more adult or mature games like Uncharted and Resistance with Insomniac. Sucker Punch had Infamous. So everyone was experimenting, but not just devs. With the industry shift, we consumers and fans had to adapt and change a little bit as well, because even though we still had the stuff we could go back to, like I still had Crash and Spyro games and Tekken and other stuff to go back to, um,
Mm-hmm.
in that gap, I started experimenting. But then I did a weird thing too, kind of mentally, not in this kind of peer pressure or kind of any otherly sense. It was just more of like a trying to understand what was happening in the games industry kind of way, where I was like, okay, we have no more Crash and Spyro. That's kind of, it seems like it's wrapped up. It seems like why aren't those games still around? But also, okay, so they're not. It's been a couple of years we don't have any Crash and Spyro games. So me being in high school around that time, all my friends and stuff, like you go around, you hear people talk about games and stuff, and they're talking about the shooters, they're talking about the hack and slashes, and Call of Duty was the one I would fucking hear in my circle all the goddamn time. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, am I missing something about Call of Duty? Like, is there something about it that I haven't? Is it one of those things where you hear it and it's not very interesting, so you have to play it and find interest in it, and that's where they get you? So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll try that. And at one point, I bought Modern Warfare 2 on PS3 and 360. That was the big one at the time. So I bought it and I tried it, and I didn't find it very fun. It was boring, and my brother didn't want to play it with me,
Mm-hmm.
and my friends were had already been playing it enough that they were too good. There was no way I was going to be able to beat them and find
Oh
enjoyment
yeah.
in playing against them. So I'm like, I'm stuck. What is happening here? Should I be playing more mature games? Is Crash and Spyro considered too baby-like now? Like, where do I sit within that? So it was kind of like a little miniature finding myself in terms of video games in that space, because we didn't have any more. I would have just kept going with Crash and Spyro if there was not a hiatus, but because there was one, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I do have the older games to fall back onto, but with nothing new to keep me going, where do I go in terms of new games? Because yeah,
Yes.
platformers weren't really around as much. I mean, and like you said with Nintendo, with me, I found Mario, and there were still Galaxy 1 and 2 and 3D Land and World, and I got a DS later and stuff. And a 3DS, so I was going, like, I was riding the Mario train for a while there, and I was finding other Nintendo games. It's not like I didn't have much to play as a kid, as a high schooler, I still found some stuff, but I was experimenting too with genres I'd never played before, because I didn't have the the drive or the desire even to really play them or give them a go, until I kind of felt like, in my own weird way, I needed to, because there wasn't much
Yes.
else with Crash or Spyro to attach myself to. And then, wouldn't you know it, the game that brought me back and went, you know what? No, no, Crash is still, even if it's not around, it's still fun. Because I actively tried to drop Crash. I tried to stop playing the games and see if that
Mm-hmm.
would help to kind of shift my dynamic around for how I should be playing games or what I should be playing within that space. But wouldn't you know it, Crash of the Titans made me go, no, Crash is still fun. I can't drop Crash. It brought me up. It raised me in a way. Like, funny enough, and it's one of the ones that people complain about, and that's the one that got me back into, like, no, I need to focus on Crash full time. Like, well, in the sense that I need to keep it in my repertoire. That is part of me. I can't just say, oh, Crash, that was a game I played 15 years ago. No, I can't.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, yeah, it's just it's hard when like when you have all these like yeah like you have all these games and you can still go back to it. You can still like enjoy these guys. Like, oh yeah, I don't think there's a reason you should be like I don't want to play this. Like I don't like this series anymore just because they're not giving me any more content. Like I feel like it's funny like bringing back Rhythm Heaven up again. It's like now Rhythm Heaven fans are kind of experiencing a Rhythm Heaven drought,
Oh,
and
really?
there's only yeah because it's there's only four games, four kind of five games in the series, but like the last game came out when 6 years ago? No, not 6 years ago. When was 2016? That was a while ago. but um, but yeah, it was a while ago, and people like people like me are like, oh, it's gonna happen, but like I'll still play the games that I actually have, but now Nintendo's kind of having it like harder for people to like play certain games now.
Yeah.
Like the 3DS game is only eShop exclusive in America, and like the eShop and the Wii U shop are shutting down soon, so you you won't be able to play those anymore, and it's
Hmm.
like yeah, I'm it sucks because like I don't know if like you do. I made a project, a reanimated project years ago, um, for Rhythm Heaven, and it helped. It kind of helped like spark interest in the series again,
I think
and
I
it
remember that.
oh my god, and it hurts me because now like people want to play it, and I'm just like ah. But yeah, like, God, it's still really nice. Like you still keep strong with like the franchises you love, even if they don't like come back. You know.
Hmm. But then when they do come back, you're just like, oh my god, like, who'd have thunk, you know? And
Yeah,
with with
exactly.
with Crash 2, it was so funny because as it turned out, we're all speculating, okay, their way of gauging our interest is probably going to be this port, or it's going to be him in Smash. No, their way of doing it was very odd because they put a teaser in an ad in 2013 and then started to go, hey, hey guys, wink wink, who remembers Crash, right? Am I right? And it's like, okay, yes, hi, hand raise, I remember Crash, but what are you getting at? And like, the fact they chose to do, to gauge your interest by teasing. So the teases are just now part of the identity for like modern Crash and Spyro. That's just kind of where we are now. So that's why too, going back to how we were talking about like the binary and all this stuff, and like with Spyro and Crash, and looking too much into like, okay, in the art book for fucking Crash 4, you get that little Spyro 4 thing. Does that mean it's happening? Did they just Spyro and the number 4? Did they just put those there randomly? Is it actually a tease? Like, it's all of a sudden with that context, you realize it's not too much of a stretch when we in the community start making those connections, because it
Yeah,
seems like, okay, well, they're putting that there. Is it intentional or not? And that's
exactly.
and that leads to
Oh,
content. So
e- exactly. Like you said, like now, like I know, like Toys for Bob, they already have this whole thing of trend of like, okay, let's sneak a couple thing for those fans. Like, okay, let's put this. Maybe Year of the Dragon next year we'll get something. You never
yeah.
know. And like, I know, like, or some, I know, like some developers sometimes they'll put something just for fun too,
Oh,
even though
sure,
it's
yeah.
like just a tease. Like, I literally got that last year with because going back saying Rhythm Heaven. I'm not trying to make this a Rhythm Heaven podcast again, but when WarioWare Get It Together came out
Hmm.
last year, or was that 2 years ago now? Oh my god, the new
I can't
year.
remember. Yeah.
But the new WarioWare came out, and there was like so many little like Rhythm Heaven like things, like way more than I could count. Where it was like like one scene was literally just a remaster of a 3DS game, and I'm like, are you guys saying something? Like, cause like, or like, are you just saying that like we still love this series, therefore like we're just gonna sneak in a couple things? But who knows? Like
Yeah.
you don't know. Like unless like the developers straight up say like maybe or it's coming. I know a lot of them can't, but
Yeah.
still, it's like you see these tiny things. It's like it's still alive somehow, even if it's even if the game is not oh
But that's where.
yeah.
Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like yeah, it's like but you can't help but not speculate. It's
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's the role of like us, like, people where we make videos and stuff, and it's not to just throw a crackpot theory out there and sound like a madman. It's more so just taking what we observe and taking what it just reads to us to be like a hint of something, a this or a that, and then just taking the discussion to everyone else to be like, hey, what do you think of this? That's like I always say. I never say anything when it's a speculative video. Again, I'm putting them out now still for Rumble and for the Spyro stuff that's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I never say it like it's definite. I never say it like, yes, this is what it is. Um, if I'm very confident in what I'm saying, certain things that I'm saying, I will be like, okay, well, this is what has been shown. This is what you can find and look up right now. But then when it comes to the speculative parts about it, I'll go, I'll use certain words all the time, like possibly, potentially, maybe, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hypothetically, like.
Hypothetically, yeah, because I don't want to sound like I'm jumping the gun, or
Or
even
yeah.
it's getting to the point now that some of us in the community have connections to a couple people here and there. So some
Yeah.
guys do get some things ahead of time that they can't talk about, but we're content creators, so we have to kind of usher people to think in this specific direction
Yes.
because we know a thing that they don't, but we can't say it. And then we become part of the whole teasing thing, and it's like a whole weird web of like that is the cool part about social media nowadays is how developers can connect with fans and with community members, content creators, no matter how big or small we are. CG having 70,000 subs, me having three, 1,000.
Yeah.
It's still the same thing. Like, we get info, we get little teases. I got the pizza box, things like that. And it's just a matter of, doing what we do because we love the series so much. And it's just fun to talk about things like this.
Yeah. Exactly. I want a pizza.
I've got an oven pizza. I need to make it for dinner tonight. But anyway, um, yeah. If there is any other nitpicks, real quick, since you want to talk about some of the things in Crash 4 that were a little iffy, we could talk about that for a bit. So, was there anything else for your least favorite aspects for Crash 4 that you wanted to discuss?
um. So yeah, like I said, I liked a lot of things, but yeah, just some things like there are some parts of the game where I do feel like maybe they're not necessary. Like yeah, we got a bunch of the. I don't really mind the inverted levels much,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think like I love mirror mode. I love mirror modes in games. It makes you think. It makes you think, you know. But when it comes to Crash 4 with the filters, I love hate them.
I understand why. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a lot of them are a lot of them are a eyesore, and like and two of them will actually mess with the game mechanics of it, where like one makes it faster, which is cool, but
Mm-hmm.
one makes it incredibly slower, and
Yep.
it's like, and I'm like, especially with one of the longest levels in the game, and it's the whole Tana Dingo Dow Rush Hour level.
Rush
I
hour.
wish.
Oh.
Oh, I know.
I know you know.
um, no, but like, if that level was cut in half, like each had their own level, I think it'd be fine. But like, it dragged. That's the one level that it's just drags for me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it is an eyesore sometimes, especially like with the filters. But I think like with the filters also kind of distract where certain things are, because I like that you could control the camera now,
Yeah.
and I love the hidden gems. Like, but when you have the filters on, you can't see some of the hidden gems, and that's another thing. Like
High
hidden
Agapus
gem,
dimension.
well, yeah, like I love the hidden gems, but like maybe like something like give me like a sparkle noise to indicate that it's close by.
Mm-hmm.
Like give me a sparkle, give me something. And then I also wish that the costumes were purchasable in a way where it's like, hey, I got these amount of gems, rather than I got these specific gems. to
In
unlock this specific costume.
Yeah. Oh, I never thought about it that way. Yeah, they should have made the gems quote unquote currency so you could be like, okay, let's peruse what they've got here. Okay, Ninja Coco is like 30 gems. Okay, well, I've gotten like
Yeah,
48, so there you go. Instead of get 11 gems between the normal and inverted versions of this specific level.
yeah,
That
exactly.
makes a lot of
I
sense, actually.
I do appreciate the gems too for like actually giving you concept art as well.
Oh,
Like
yeah, yeah.
like I love that. Like it just gives you another page to the concept art. But when it comes to the costumes, I wish like they did that. And I didn't mention this as one of the things I love, but like I love the bosses. I love the bosses in
Oh,
this game.
yeah.
That like all most of the bosses in the original trilogy are poo poo garbage. They are poo poo garbage, and like you know none of them really had anything to do with like the gameplay most of the time, and some of the best bosses don't even apply to like the Crash gameplay. It's just throw fruit or whatever, and it's like okay, cool, or dodge this, but like I feel like there's a lot of tension when it comes to the bosses in Crash 4, and like the only real disappointment for a boss for me was Entropy. Like Entropy was the only boss fight that disappointed me in that game.
Uh-huh.
And
And yeah, I get it. Yeah.
and like cuz you got like Engine was great, a little time consuming but it was great. Brio was good too. Cortex twice. I think Cortex the final Cortex fight is like probably the best fight in the series.
It's good. It's solid. I
it,
love it.
it's really good. And I also love when bosses like take your powers away, like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna use it against you. But with Entropy, there was such a build up. There was a build
Yes.
up with Entropy. I was so happy to find out that he was kind of in the lead this time, and like he was so intimidating, very
Yeah.
intimidating. And then by the time we got to the boss, and I don't know if there's something that like along the way of development where they cut the fight. Like it feels like
Maybe like
because this is what it feels like. It feels like because they're like, let's see how you fight as a pack, and it's just like, oh, are we gonna play as all the characters now in a boss fight?
uh-huh.
And I thought that's what we were gonna do, but like it cuts off after you do the mask portions, and it's like okay. I thought, and then, like you see Dingo, Cortex, and Tana be like, yeah, we did it. It's like, what did you guys do? So I feel like something happened where like they ran out of time, or something happened along the way, but couldn't change the cutscene. But like that's the only thing. I wish the boss was a little bit more what it feel like it promised to be.
hmm
Then I think it would have been a little bit better. Like, I don't know, have Tana climb this part of the boss, or have Cortex hack the system with his changey jumpy stuff, or Dingo Dow that's exploding everything. Like something like that.
hmm I
But
know. I know you were talking about entropy's build up throughout the game and throughout the story. I actually like the build up before the fight because that whole moment where you're going through and you're kind of reliving everything and you're seeing just how chaotic the timelines are getting because you're going through that dimension where you're just sliding and everything is crossing over and then you get that like very like animated movie-esque moment where you just hear all the flashbacks and everything is culminating to this. You get all the dialogue from characters from earlier in the game, and you're going and everything was converging into this one moment. So that build-up was fucking epic, and the music that oh my god,
oh,
that
it's so good.
that theme
It's
is
so
so goddamn good.
But yeah, it like that's like the only like boss that kind of got me, and like then again like is that, and it's kind of hard for me to think any other things. Maybe like I said, inverted mode, entropy. I personally don't have a problem with like platinum relics being a thing.
I know you don't.
Well, I personally though, I kind of feel like they just kind of made them like the they kind of feel like they made those the gold ones. You know,
Well,
it kind of
yeah.
feels like, yeah, that's how it feels like. It feels like the gold relics to me, in a sense. Like I, I'll tell you, the Toys for Bob one though. Whew, no, I will. I've done that one time, and I will never do it again. Like I feel, I will never do that again. It hurts. It hurts my hands. Like that's the only time that game hurt my hands. People check on me if I'm okay whenever I play Crash 4. It's like, Kevin, are you okay? Like, yes, I feel great. I could draw. Like, if my livelihood is okay, then we're okay. The game does not give me damage unless it's the Toys for Bob gems or
Relics.
relics.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned with the triple spin how it was like kind of reverse engineering how to like bring in a racing mechanic into a platformer, and I feel that's essentially what they did with the time trials. The whole aspect of time trials, not just the triple spin to make the time trials a bit more bearable, but the time trials in the sense that okay, well now gold is about as useful and that it's useless as
Mm,
sapphire. Now the platinums are what you need, and then the dev times are your like going above and beyond prize. Now those are just for if you feel like it. And in my and in my mind, I mean, hell, I got a dev relic by complete. I wasn't even going for it. I just happened to have
was it?
gone as fast as I could.
Can I guess which level?
Which one do
Was
you
it the
think it
Ding?
was?
Was it Dingo Dial's level?
No, it was
Hmm.
Run It By You. Actually, of all the ones,
Interesting. Okay.
I don't care much for Run It By You. It actually ended up on my top 10 least favorite Crash 4 levels list. Um, but because I was doing it out of like, okay, well, I might as well just try this one. And I did it a couple times. And by the time I got to the end, I was like, oh, fuck. What? um,
So, oh God, like you actually brought up a good point for me. Like, oh, wait, no, nope, I lost it. Oh no, it'll come back. It'll come back.
okay. The one thing I was going to say too while you get that memory back was, Uh, so the thing I would have done, I think, with the time trials, because again, it does lend into the difficulty of how people say it's overwhelming, and you have to be right up there. The stipulations are crazy, like I was saying before. Having to be perfect on everything, get the highest of everything to complete the game fully. What I think would have been a better way to kind of balance that out is keep the dev times as they are completely. They don't count towards anything. They're just there to gloat. That's perfectly fine. Have the gold mean something, because then at that point, what the fuck is the sapphire there for? It's useless. It literally means absolutely dirt. So like, if you want to, put the relics, put the sapphire towards some, however you work it out, technically to some sort of a percentage, but make the gold like in Crash 3 the one you go for. Maybe make platinum, put a skin to that, put like a really cool badass looking skin to that, so when you see people's gameplay and you see people on in their walkthroughs or their whatevers, and they're playing as this crazy Crash or Coco, you're like, oh shit, how did they get that? Oh, that's when you, because they did that with Nitro Field. You get like a silver or you get a gold or a platinum or something or other kind of decal or paint job for your carts by doing all the like oxide times or all the velo times or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or all the entropy times or something like that. So
Yeah.
like they could have done that, or with the perfect relics, that could have, instead of going to percentage, go towards unlocking another skin. Maybe a skin that looks like the relics, because their skulls, you could have like a skull helmet and like skull armor or something, like skeleton armor, skeletal kind of looking stuff going on there or something, and just
Mm-hmm.
make it look really cool.
So okay, now I remember now.
Nice.
One of my things that kind of my at least one of my things that I wish that they put in the game was maybe like a hint or a tip or a technique like guide for you in the game,
Uh huh.
because there are a lot of things that this game does right, but there's a lot of things that the game does not tell you. And like, if it wasn't for me being like a veteran Crash fan, I feel like some stuff, or like there's some new stuff too that I learned from Crash 4, is that like, like when it comes to like say like I hear a lot of people get Dingo Dow's first level like in platinum. They get platinum immediately, and like on accident. I hear a lot of people do that on accident. And the thing that I think why is that the way that Dingo Dow's level is placed is that like there's nitro crates everywhere, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of like time crates that are with that. And so by the time you reach the end of the level, those time crates will get this like explode with the nitros. And then you find out like, oh, I got toys for Bob, and it's like, huh? Like, what happened? So like where I'm going with this is that like the game doesn't tell you that like, oh, if you leave nitro crates that are next to like time crates like alone, you can shave off time. Like,
Dang.
it might subtract. It might like it might do that like Crash Team Racing thing where it's like, oh, you got all the boxes, let's shave it off for you. Like, kind of like that.
Hmm.
And so, and then like going to things that they don't tell you is that like there's a lot of techniques that like the game like one of the things that bugged me a lot is that there's certain platform sections where it's like, yeah, the iconic like trampoline crate with the iron crate, bouncing on it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a thing that happens in the original Crash games, but
Yep.
whenever you spin on top of a bouncy crate, it stops you from jumping.
Yeah.
And that is I think a lot of the puzzles that they use in Crash 4 have stuff like that, where it's like, if you don't do this, you're going to get crushed or you're going to get hurt. So,
Yeah.
like, it's just like a couple things where it's like, teach the teach the player. Like, I understand things where it's like, teach the player, like, as you go.
Hmm.
But then there's like some technical skills like that where it's like you won't find out until you get to like, I don't know, Cortex's castle. And then it's like what is this? How do I skip this? Or like I know there's like a very like fast bouncy crate in the not Cortex castle, sewer toxic tunnels, like secret route.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Like there's like a really fast one. It's like, oh man, like if I spin when I land, it's like it's gonna like give me a better chance to get out of
Yeah.
that section. So like that's the thing. Like I wish like like had like a little section that were like, oh hey, you could slide under a crawl, or you could do this move, or like something like that. I think would have, especially for newcomers
Yeah.
who don't know that, because like it's like you know. And I feel like there's a lot of Crash fans still, like, like even veterans that like never used that in the past.
Yeah.
So it's like the techniques are there, and then like even Cortex. Okay, not Cortex. Let's use Aku Aku for example. It is nearly impossible to get invincibility in that game. Like
Yeah.
it is scripted. It is scripted, right? So when you're like say like playing Cortex Castle, doing a time trial, that's when you're most likely going to get an invincibility like 3 Aku Akus, right?
Hmm.
But then like this is the thing in the old games, but if you could run on crates. You could run on the crates to break them.
Yes.
So meaning if you don't like you can't jump on the crate. You have to run on it, so you'll land on it if you try jumping on it.
Yeah.
So like, imagine getting this triple aku aku, and you're like, I'm gonna blaze through the gauntlet, right? And then all of a sudden, you don't bounce off the TNT. You just walk on it, and you're like, wait, no, no, I just lost the whole run. Like, yeah, no, like that's a technique there, like that is not shown often in the game,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, I could actually like just run on the crates to break them, and it's, unless you know, you know.
Yeah, like
So
the moments where those little technical things come into play in the main levels in the main game, they're they're far and few between. So like, or few and far between. Sorry, but so yeah, it doesn't properly teach you that it doesn't teach veterans about the slightly newer tweaks to those mechanics, like sliding off of TNT and things like that, and just how long the hang time goes for. And for newcomers, it just does. It's not too intuitive in teaching you about those kinds of things in general. And yeah, like even things that have been in other Crash games, like spinning to stop bouncing on the iron bounce crates. But the flashback tapes, I think their band-aid for that was the flashback tapes, because those levels put you in situations where you need to experiment with that, and you need to figure
mhm.
out that you can do that.
Yeah, and
Um,
they don't punish you for dying in those the flashback tapes. It's just
yeah.
like, which I appreciate a lot, because it's like, yeah, they know it's tough, but like, and it's kind of like, those like those platformers that are like, okay, practice makes perfect kind of approach.
Uh huh.
It's like, you know the mistakes until you know it's like, oh god, like that one. There's this one that plays like tiny steam while you play it. It's just like, ooh, it's
Oh
very specific.
yeah.
It's very specific, and like,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, the flashback tapes. That's the other thing too. It's like every aspect about Crash 4 can be brutal if you let it. If you find it hard to adapt to how the game is and how it presents itself, every little aspect can be considered a challenge. Boxes, crates, some of them are hidden in places that are hard to find. Hidden gems are in places that are hard to find. Trying to go for the 3 deaths or less or the perfect relic, that tells you right then and there to get good. Getting the flashback tapes can be tough because, like you were saying, the further in the game you go, the further back to the end of the levels the flashback tapes end up being, and you have to get there without dying once to get them. To unlock the flashback tape or level, that is going to also be in its own right a very difficult level to get all the crates in. So, even just progressing through a level, I always say it. Everyone who's been watching the Bandicast, say it with me. Bermudula's orbit onward. That is where the difficulty spike kicks up in just the level design and the enemy placement. So, every aspect about it. Need I mention again the time trial relics and stuff like that? So, like, every aspect is kind of difficult in its own right. I might end up spinning this little bit off into its own video in the future, who knows, but that might even be considered the problem with modern Crash games, is that ever since Insane, they gave you hints and tips, but it was remedial shit. It was like, don't spin TNT crates. Shit like that. And it's like, what? Okay, no shit. You experiment with that. You experiment with that by doing it. As a kid, that's what I did. I was like, great, I gotta break that. Bam, dead. And it's like, okay, now I know. And this is the best example. The best example of teaching a player how your fucking game works is with Snowgo in OG Crash 2. What do?
ah,
They give you 3 crates, a TNT, a Nitro, and a Aku Aku. You go get the Aku Aku because you know, okay, spinning the TNT is bad. If you've played Crash 1, you know. And if you haven't played Crash 1 first and Crash 2 is your first Crash game, you can spin the TNT and die. And go, okay, because touching it, running, walking into it, and, making Crash hit the crate, nothing happens. You jump on it, a countdown happens. You go, oh fuck, that must be bad, better get away. You spin it, immediate death. You know. You can get an Aku Aku, experiment with that, touch the TNT, you blow up, but you're fine. You see the Nitro and you go, okay, well, by color coding rules, red means bad, green must be good. What happened? Bam, immediate death by touching it. So you're like, fuck, do not touch Nitro whatsoever. Stay away from Nitro. And that's your way of learning. You don't have, the game doesn't need to fucking give you a tip or a hint or tell you for text on the top, bottom, left, right, center of the goddamn screen what to do. You need to learn it by doing it. And that lends to game design aspects later on in the experience because then, like, they put secrets around that. Then there are those Nitro stairs that you have to climb and you have to jump on them, but your way of knowing that they're okay to jump on is they don't, gurgle and they don't hop up and down. They're completely static. So you go, hold on. I know that these crates have animations and they have sounds attached to them. How come these don't? And that makes you curious. And you don't need words and hints to tell you that. But Insane felt the need to be like, something is in this level is false. Find it. And it's like, okay, I fucking know that the Eel Deal has a wall you can phase through. But then Crash 4, how you're saying, there are no hints and tips, which on one hand, for guys like us, that's fine. We already know how to play Crash. We know how to experiment, so it's fine. But for kids or other people who play games that have never played Crash before, they're not going to know the intricacies. They're not going to know these little technical aspects. They're not even going to know that Crash 4 is a very technical platformer that has all these little things to it and to its feel and to how the characters control. So you do need a little push for at least the very esoteric stuff, but not for basic shit like don't spin a TNT. You know?
Exactly. It's like that's self-explanatory, or at least it should be.
And if it's not, then you need to be able to experiment with it on your own. I mean, sure, in the old games you'd lose a life, and Crash 4 you don't. You can play the game without lives. Which just lends to more experimentation. You're just going to go back to the previous checkpoint, but nothing else is lost. So, like, get crazy with it. And that's what I think. It's not lost in translation with these newer games, but, like, it is something to be desired to, it's kind of there and it's kind of not. So, like, the balance, Crash 4 is about balance, and sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. So, like,
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's why, I don't. I love it. I don't think it's perfect, but it's my favorite Crash game of all time. It's my favorite game of all time. So, God, it's just I love this game so much. And I think like me explaining it explains why I do like why those specific games shaped my opinion on it.
mm-hmm.
And it's no hate on the other games. It's just like most people, it's not for me. Like some people prefer the experimental stuff like Warped and Wrath of Cortex or the beat 'em up stuff. But I still have an appreciation for all those games, even though it's not my cup of tea. It's still
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just oh god, I'm just so happy that this game exists. It's kind of funny. So you know how the so when I was trying to get the developer relics, right?
Uh-huh.
My girlfriend held my Crash art book hostage. She held it for me and was like, "You're not getting this until you get them all." And I'm like, so even though the game itself doesn't give you anything, it doesn't give you anything or an acknowledgement for getting all the developer times. I had my own personal one.
Oh my god.
I will never do it again, though. I tell you that. Like, I will never do that again.
Oh my god, that's
Just give me,
amazing.
just give me Crash 5 in like 3 years, 3 years, and I'll be happy.
That's amazing. Okay, so obviously this is called the Bandicast Rumble for a reason. I know we're coming up on Jesus 3 hours. If you if you're still with us, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're watching a little bit of this too, because when Kevin was talking about his artwork in Mind Over Mutant, I'm putting up an image of it there. It's the only time I've ever put like a visual to. Besides our little backdrop, it's the only time I'm going to put a visual up. So sorry that I'm saying it this late in, but yeah, you can find it if you want to know what specific. You heard the description of it, but to see it, I'll throw it up there if I can find it. Um, yeah, thank you for staying with us for as long as you have. But before we end off, I do have one more question, which I didn't write in here because I forgot to. That's the honest reason why. But my last question, which I'll have to write in later for every other guest going forward, is: are you excited for Crash Team Rumble, and what are you expecting to see out of it?
Oh man, like my first initial reaction when I saw it, I'm like, "Ooh, new Crash,"
Yeah, exactly.
Like, um, I am still very skeptical though, because
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure how this game is going to be. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy because it still has the Crash 4 art style. I like, you know, I think it's cool that you got like all these other characters, like you got Cat, Bat, Cat, whatever they're called. I think they're fun. But part of me is still a little confused, like what the game is, if that makes sense. Because like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because what I got overall is that like my brain can't stop thinking about this, but like I'm getting some sort of a kind of like a Splatoony or a
Yeah.
Rayman, like 4v4 Splatoon type game, or like Rayman Arena, or
Yeah.
or maybe this is a weird one to say, but I feel like it could be like a MOBA,
People
but
have
with
kind of said
platforming.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, a MOBA with platforming. Like, don't get like I've never played League or Legends before or anything, so I don't know how they. Maybe that one Pokemon game
A
that
Pokken
came out.
tournament?
No, not the Pokemon
Oh, no, no,
tournament. It was
no.
Pokemon Quest Conquest. I don't know. It was like a
Conquest?
yeah, because like I think that also has that specific gameplay.
Oh, okay, okay.
But like I don't know, like part of me feels like I feel like that could work, but I'm also really skeptical. Like I with some Crash games, I'll say like with when Crash on the Run came out, like I tried it. I tried it and stuff, but I didn't really like it didn't hook me. Like
Yeah, I
and
get you, yeah.
I'm like this is fine. It's not for me though. And with this game, like I'm just curious. I'm really curious what they're gonna do to approach this game. It's like, is it like platforming with like a competitive platform collectathon? If that's the case, I think that's awesome. I just with all these other characters, all these cool characters clashing together, like I think it could be a fun time. I'm just worried that like it might be free to play, or like I get scared because like with Crash on Nitro Fueled like came to an end. It just kind of came to an end, and I got really upset and like,
Hmm.
oh well, that's it, and it's like I had a blast with like that because they kept like updating the game, but then I'm pretty sure they might have that same format with this,
Hmm.
where it's like, oh, let's see what other Crash characters we could add, what new characters, what modes. Is like I said, is it going to be free to play? Is it free to play if you own a copy of Crash 4? Or like or like what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like how compatible is this to Crash 4? Or is it like its own thing, Because
Hmm.
Um, so like I said, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical. I am excited because like new Crash is great, even if it's experimental. I'm fine with that because I know a lot of people like we got nostalgia fans like that who are always like we're spoiled. I here's the thing. We are
Oh,
this generation
yeah.
of like the return of platformers or remakes in general. I feel like we're very spoiled by that. But like I personally don't see growth when it comes to that. Like
Hmm.
you gotta tinker around. Like for better or for worse, I feel like you gotta try for a variety, but like at the same time, still respect what the original game strived for. And that's like like that's what I really appreciate about like Crash 4. It's like they appreciated that stuff, or like from the first two games, or like all the stuff that came before. Um, but like like with Crash Team Racing, they tried something new, but still applied that. I keep saying it, rhythmic precision platforming.
Hmm.
Like, but like, how do you apply that to a multiplayer game? A multiplayer, whatever this game
Yeah.
should be. So like that's what I think. Like, because like if anything, I feel like it'd be cool if Crash and Coco have all their moves from this from Crash 4. It's just like maybe like, hey, if you like Crash 4's movement, you could just use them, or if you want to experiment, you could eat like embryo or something like that, or
Hmm.
who knows if there's like clone characters in this, where it's like I hear speculations about entropy and entropy being in
Yeah.
the game. I mean, I'm pretty sure we could talk about that a little bit, but yeah, it's just I'm I'm optimistic about Crash's future. Like even if I don't play along, I'm still optimistic about Crash.
Hmm.
So I'll try it. I'll try it, and if I'm in, I'm in.
Yeah. No, for sure. It does look so interesting, and it looks so different, and that's the thing that I like about it, because we're back in that we're right back. People don't even realize we're right back where we were, um with, okay, should Crash experiment? How much should Crash experiment? Because when the series first did it, with all the devs that were hot potatoing games off of one another, like, first it's a GBA side scroller, now it's an open world wacky comedy game, now it's a beat 'em up, now it's racing where you can clash two cars together, and it has platforming. And like, some fans love certain games from post Naughty Dog, some hate them and say they're a blemish on the series, like I was saying before. And it's like, okay, well, obviously the developers, the two we have right now since Vivi's gone, Binox and Toys for Bob, definitely know where we're coming from, the fans, with kind of what we want to see, but at the same time they don't want to alienate post Naughty Dog stuff, so they still put the winks, the nods, and stuff, and straight up the characters from those games into the more classic style for what we have right now. And that's so cool. But now we're back at that time where it's like, okay, we're done with the remasters. Now let's get some new stuff. But in that new stuff, how safe are they going to stay? Are we going to stay in the platformer realm? Are we going to do some more racing games in the future? People keep saying they want to see a Nitro Field 2 or whatever.
Oh
Um,
my god,
or,
please.
or like, this is the first one. Rumble is the first one for modern Crash where we get to see the franchise experiment again. And I am all for it. Maybe the game won't be that great when it comes out. That's a possibility. But for me personally, as a Crash content creator, I want to see the positives. So I think it could be a very standout game if they do everything right. And I just made a video not too long ago called My Top 5 Hopes for the game. And I don't go into a whole lot of depth. It was a shorter video, but like, it's just because we don't have, it's because we still have very little right now to go off of with the game. But like, for what we can speculate on, for what we can determine may or may not happen, like, I just want to see them play their cards right because it is a gamble, but to see that they're that confident, that, to see Activision's that confident for letting Toys for Bob do something like this and letting Beanox go beyond just CTR and CNK, and we got CTTR, we got we got Yaya Panda, we got mobile game stuff.
Listen, like when you got characters that I don't even know about, I'm like, man, I'm like, yo, like when people were like rooting for Mr. Skeleton Man, I'm like,
Mr. Crumb.
I'm like, I'm here like, oh my god, people, I don't like. I thought I knew them all. I thought I knew I thought I knew everything. I didn't even know about this freaking Crumb character that they brought him back. Like, oh.
When Crash on the Run brings Mr. Crumb and Tree Thing from 99X back and people actually like them, you know something is being done right here.
It's so weird.
They brought back... No, they even brought back... Okay.
The elephant?
They brought back scrapped characters!
The freaking elephant from Twin Cities.
How do you do that?
How do you... like, hello?
Oh my god, I freaked the fuck out when I saw him because I was like, as a fan, I recognized him. I was like, what?
Listen, when you bring back Pink Elephant, but not evil twins, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned. Like,
oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Like, where is Victor and Moritz? Nah, man. Here's Pink Elephant. From God a Bit Coco. Let's go. Jeez.
But not even...
They went hard, though. They went very hard.
Not even that. We got memes. The fucking Iron Checkpoint Crate is a character.
That is my favorite.
In 2 games! Not just Nitro Field. It was in Crash on the Run.
I'm so happy. That, like, I love stuff like that.
And turning Fasty or whoever into Hasty. That was awesome to see.
That was cool. You know, what's funny, like, I don't know if you saw recently, Mario Kart Tour added a block.
Yes.
It's like, bro, come on.
I was like, come on, man, stop. When it comes to the racing games specifically, Crash and Mario...
Come on. Come on.
Crash and Mario rip each other off all the time. People keep saying that CTTR is ripping off Double Dash with a dual character and a kart system, but people don't fucking acknowledge that Mario Kart 8 took the anti-gravity directly from Nitro Kart. Directly.
Listen, when it's Mario, I'm telling you, the favorite. No matter what, the favorite's always gonna get, like, I mean, just majority. I'm not saying like the favorite, but like, Mario is the most popular video game character of all time. So it's like,
yeah,
you're gonna get people like that.
But hey, in the realm of platforming, characters and mascots who could contend with Mario, Crash was arguably the closest, if not one of the closest. He was probably the closest because not only did he directly call Mario out numerous times with those old ads and stuff, you see other characters where in their series and their promos, they think they're that smart and that, like, big bald that they'll fucking call out other, Croc ate Mario and Crash in his magazine ad, and Ty is so cool, he put Crash, Spyro, and Sonic in the hospital, but they didn't last very long. Crash is still going strong to this day, even though he had a 6-year gap and nothing. He came back, and he came back strong. That was the main thing. To the point where, even though the Mustache Man bit and all of that stuff didn't come back, but certain aspects of the advertising did. The Crash suit came back, Booyah Grandma came back, stuff like that came back, and that was cool. And you can't, that's so ingrained into Crash's history that the fucking Japanese Crash theme came back. That was
Oh
fucking
yeah.
cool to see. The Japanese Crash 4 ads are fucking awesome. So
hmm
like,
I
you
still
know,
can't get over. I still can't get over the gender reveal commercial. I can't. I can't.
oh, that was
It,
such a good
it's
one.
it's so off the wall, like oh, and uncomfortable.
But that's what
And
Crash
that it,
was in the
yeah,
day.
yes, exactly.
Crash didn't give a fuck.
I, and I love how he's basically his own character. You know.
He is. I was really hoping. That's like I was hoping when 1+2 was coming out for Tony Hawk, that Vivi would slip in like because they would do their guest characters. The guy in the Crash suit, like the
Oh my
guy
god,
with the face and the teeth. Like I wanted that so bad.
missed opportunity. Like I was hoping for that too.
What they did do, they put some they reused assets from Bunox with the stickers and the graffiti from the Rustland stuff. They put that in as graffiti in 1+2, and then when Crash 4 was still happening, was new, they put in customizable like stuff for your custom characters, your skaters. So you have like hats and shirts and stuff with Crash 4 designs on them. That's about the extent they did with Crash, but in terms of playable characters, I was really hoping they would go balls to the wall and put fucking guy in the Crash suit.
That's fair. Maybe he'll be in Rumble.
That'd be fucking
It was so
weird but awesome.
uncanny. Come on. I can see it happening. It's gonna be uncomfortable, and that's gonna be perfect.
um,
But yeah, going back to Rumble, it's like I'm excited. I am excited for the future of Crash, and like even if it's I'm just excited to see where it goes.
mm-hmm.
Just the fact that he's back. That's the big one for me. It's
Yeah.
like he's back. It seems like they're embracing change. It seems like they're embracing change with the character, not just sticking with nostalgia. And I know obviously people won't like change. We've experienced that as Crash fans.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know there was like a discourse recently with his concept art design. So it's like, oh, oh boy, I won't even start on that. But but
it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's always been a whole thing.
yeah, it's like people don't like change. People don't like different things. Like even when somebody steals your artwork and be like, oh, look at this new art style for Ed and Eddie, and it's like, guys, it's not real, or people fall for that stuff. So it's like the trust in a lot of people are gonna be like, I think these things are good as long as the thing, the overall product, is good. Even if
Yeah.
it's even if it's the ugliest show ever, or ugly, the characters of this video game are the ugliest things. If it plays good, if there's a good aspect of it, I think it's valuable. And
Mm-hmm.
going back to what we said about honoring the past, it's I love that with recent Crash games, where they're just they're not going to ignore, yeah, sure, they won't put them in the spotlight in CTR, but it's really nice to be like, oh man, poor Barilla's in Crash 4 if you look
Yeah.
closely, or oh man, remember those Crash tag team racing characters? They're racers now. It's like, what?
Yeah, just the very fact that these things are there and they're acknowledging them is the cool thing about modern Crash, because what fans considered back in the pre-hiatus era to be the franchise's weakest aspect, the fact that it was changing so much and with all the different new characters they were adding that some people liked, some people didn't like, and whatever, the devs of pre or post hiatus are finding to be its strongest thing. Like the fact that representation is there is amazing, because yeah, they're choosing to embrace it, not disassociate with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that can only lead to good things from here on out. Like Crash 5 doesn't need to necessarily continue the acknowledgement, but if there's ways they can find to weave characters in to, whether it's the story or there for reference, but make it mean something, that would be cool, because for us longtime fans, we're gonna get it, and for newcomers who are becoming fans with these new games, they'll be able to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So that is again where that fine line is kind of written, where it's like, all right, well, how much do we want to stay safe and stay nostalgic, and how much do we let the franchise grow? So like, I'm expected for Crash 5, and I know we're just speculating, we're not going to go on too long for this, but like, I kind of want to see Crash take on open world again, but do like a more true, almost spiral like open world kind of thing. I want to see more exploration and more, travel in that sense.
All right. Hear me out.
Mhm.
Hear me out. We're gonna get a redemption for Crash and Spyro, right? Here we go. It'll be Crash. Okay, I can't think of a name. Purple, other than Purple and Spyro Orange again. But like, I always had this thinking idea in my brain. It's like, what if Crash was thrown into a Spyro like sandbox game, right? Like, kind of
Mhm.
like and then vice versa, where Spyro with this.
Has to do. Oh my god! See, the only thing I have a little bit of like issue with is that Sparta wasn't meant to be linear, like
Oh
as linear as Crash was, because
man.
Spyro's been linear, like the
Yep.
Game Boy games and stuff, or not even the Game Boy. Well, ironically enough, Spyro Orange was very linear because it was side
Oh,
scrolling, but like you know, it
oh God,
it
Spyro
might be able to
or
be done.
oh.
It's
Li- Listen, it will be better. It will be better than Crash and Spyro finally battling it out on a bridge with bottles.
with Molotov
Like
cocktails.
we are, anything is better than that. Like I'm telling you, the end screen of both games, Spyro has this scream for help. He just has,
Oh, Crash has him in a
he just
headlock.
has this. He's like, this will, everything will be fine.
Oh my god. I do want to see. That would be really ambitious and fucking awesome if they were. The closest we've gotten to any kind of really cool console crossover like that wasn't Skylanders was his inclusion, Spyro's inclusion in Nitro Field, but it's a racing game. So in hindsight, I suppose the closest thing you could get would be Skylanders, because you could have Spyro and Crash uh, explore around together and fight together. But like, come on, like, yeah, classic Crash, classic Spyro, familiar
Yeah,
feel.
not Skylander Spyro who is super fanboying over Crash
Oh my
Bandicoot.
god.
I love that episode. I love that episode of
Spyro
Skylanders.
became a Crash simp. Oh, but
um, but yeah, like I know there's speculation of Spyro being in Rumble right
yeah,
now
yeah.
because like I know that tea, but like it's just it's kind of cool. Like I I mean I'm not surprised because Crash and Spyro have always been they've always been like sister like brother whatever you call it sister games.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
even the conception with like with even with concept art, it's like it's they're it you can't separate them.
Yeah, yeah. Um no, yeah, seriously. Like freaking the fact that Naughty Dog and Insomniac shared a space within the Universal backlot, the fact they did have a lot of the same Universal people working on both franchises for the original trilogies, the fact that the same concept artist did the characters designs for both games. Um,
Yeah.
and I've always said how, like, yeah, it's eerily similar, or it's funny how eerily similar both franchises left Universal, or rather, sorry, left their original creators, and Universal keeping them going with other devs. Sometimes the same devs working on the console, the games for the same systems and stuff. So like the GBA, Crash and Spyro games, some of them were made by Vicarious Visions around that time, and then seeing Vivendi work on a Spyro thing and work on a Crash thing, and then all that stuff. So like they went through a lot of the same developers even after the original developers. They dropped them essentially and stuff like that. So like yeah, it is hard to separate Crash from Spyro and vice versa. And at the same time, a lot of Spyro people, Miharu, is like, yeah, that's cool that they're together, but like sometimes it feels like Spyro is the Luigi to Crash's Mario. Like sometimes it feels like Spyro gets a little too overshadowed by Crash. Look how many fucking games we have for Crash right now, and we just have Reunited for Spyro. It's things like that.
We'll see. I'm saying, just be patient for Year of the Dragon. I'm telling you,
It's gonna happen.
it's going to happen. I know, like, what's it called? Like, it's been a while since, like, I know people's been speculating for Rumble for, I don't know, if that game got delayed for a few years, and then, you know, so we'll see. I know Spyro will come back with like something huge. It's gotta be. We're just gonna get Spyro Orange 2, and it's gonna be a disaster. And no,
my
I
boy,
feel
my,
good
my boy
about
needs
Spyro.
more than that.
I know it's like a little consistent. Toys for Bob have been working on this game, so it's like they were working on Crash 4 and Rumble, so who knows what their schedule is like. I feel confident in both series.
Yeah. Yeah, with everything that we're speculating on right now with Spyro, hopefully it does come to pass the way we're kind of hoping that it does. I mean, again, it's all speculation. It all comes back full circle to how we speculate and how they kind of toss us some bones every so often, and how they are treating the franchises right now. Who knows if a new Spyro game happens soon? We might even get the same teases and nods to past Spyro games. Spyro has less games in its series than Crash does, but it'd be funny if they found a way to reference Enter the Dragonfly in a very like kind of meta way, in a snarky way, or if they reference events from Hero's Tale or something. So like you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with Rumble, I too am hoping that it does well and that it's fun. That's all you can really hope for.
I guess I'll be playing with you. Maybe. I guess I have to get a PlayStation Plus again. if I stopped mine after CTR ended, so I'm like,
Oh dang.
no, there's nothing else for me at the moment.
Yeah, when Rumble comes out, I definitely want to do streams where I'm playing with friends and stuff. Yeah, if you ever want to hop on, dude, I am totally on board with that. And even off of streams too, just like on our off time, get into a freaking PlayStation call or whatever.
I'm playing Crash 4 again. It's like I was literally playing Crash 4 right before the call too. So.
Kevin, consider this your intervention. You need to put it down for a little bit.
my intervention.
Oh no. It's been damn near 3.5 hours, I think.
Yeah, I think I did beat it. Like, I think I'm like at my 25th at the moment. So it's like,
oh wow.
Yeah. Hey, it's fine. I'm enjoying it. I'm not hurt. Like, people think my health is endangered because of this game, but no.
Mentally or physically.
Mentally or physically. Like, I even told when I was playing the game for the first time, what's his name? Gerard, the completionist, was messaging me like, Kevin, how the he was like messaging me like, how did you beat the game again? And I'm like, I love it because
I'm a
I don't
fan, bro.
hit. Yeah. But yeah, love this game. I love Crash. He means so much to me. And he still means so much to me, in my like today with art and stuff. So
Hmm.
like everything I do, I think I want to everything art wise, and game wise, I think because of him. So or that series. So yeah.
Oh man, so many great conversations. I love where we took everything. Um, is there anything last minute you can possibly think of to for opinions and stuff to say real quick before we end off?
Oh man, I want to work on a Crash game or
It's
something just once in my life.
gonna
I
happen.
think
I have faith. It's gonna happen.
give me a pizza box or something. Just give me if Toys for Bob acknowledge my many attempts at 106.
Oh my god.
No, just no. I think the future of Crash is looking great, and he's gonna continue you know like I think he's gonna continue getting more fans, and I don't know how long, even if I don't get into the new Crash games or something, like I'll still appreciate it from afar, even if it's not for me.
Hmm.
So, but gotta thank, like I said, I gotta thank this silly orange marsupial for inspiring me. Inspiring me I honestly don't think I'll be where I'm at today because of Crash.
Yeah,
A
seriously.
lot of my a lot of my characters I got inspired by him. A lot of my gigs I actually fan art of the character, and some unofficial shirts that I made attracted some of the clients that I work with today, and it's like, okay, cool, that's nice. I
That's awesome though.
think, yeah, I want to say a good 85% of people found me because of Crash Bandicoot or Crash Bandicoot or Rhythm Heaven.
I
So
mean,
if yeah.
I mean, that's awesome to have that entry point to find just awesome people within the community because I was found for Crash and Spyro. Miharu was found for Spyro first before Crash. Because that's how she considers it. She considers herself Spyro first, Crash after. Um, and I wouldn't have found her, and we wouldn't have never have met if it weren't for Spyro. But I wouldn't have gotten into doing YouTube content as I do now if it weren't for Crash and then later Spyro. So and then she saw the first video she ever saw of mine was a Crash one. So Crash just did a lot for us, and yeah, we just can't thank the series enough.
Hmm. Who knows? Maybe I'll make a game in the future with my penguin character to be like a Crash, I don't know. That's just
That'd be cool to
that's just
see. Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
Because I would love to do platformers in the future. I just talked about in my update video for this year that I am working on a side scroller game. It's not very far in development right now, and I'm still trying to learn Unity, but I want to make games in the future. And that's where I want my career to go, and I want
Mhm.
to just pay homage to Crash and the stuff that I grew up with, and give that experience to more people, as many people as possible, and that's just kind of what Crash has done for me.
Mhm. Yeah, gotta love that little stupid orange dude.
A little fucking rat.
Special place in my heart. Special place in my heart for him. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
So, is there any last minute stuff?
Hmm.
Pizza box.
Pizza box. Give me a pizza box. Um. Like, I don't know.
Give me a
We'll
pizza
see.
box
Maybe
and a spot in your studio. Thank you.
Just give me, yeah, exactly.
Give you a job and also
Yeah.
pizza.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be cool, like to work on something, like even if I don't work on like a crash thing in the future, it's like still gotta say thank you again. I
Hmm.
like I think I want to say my art career right now is pretty successful because of you know just because not just because of that, but like it was a big push for me. Like if it wasn't for like Twin Sanity and like Mind Over Mutant for pushing me to do art, like I don't know where I would be today.
Hmm.
Like I really don't know where I would be today. It's kind of flattering, like just thinking about like, oh, I am in a Crash game. I people people know me for 106ing the game. Um, I and even like when I was in the past when I was doing shirts, I found out that Paul Gardner, the director of Twin Sanity, actually bought one of my shirts, and I'm just like, what?
Oh,
What
that's
the
awesome.
heck? It's like okay, that's cool. It's like, does that make me an actual like? Am I in? Am I actually an artist now? Like, and like even today, like I'm working with like Ant Dude and Peanut Butter Gamer, Nitro Rat, and like
Hmm.
Jaden Animations, and like there's a bunch of people, and
That's awesome.
like and even got my first art gig for a video game. So that Penguin game I mentioned earlier, the
Hmm.
Punchwin, and like coincidentally, that guy worked on Crash in some form in the past.
It
So it's like, oh my god,
all comes
um,
back to him.
it all comes back. Even one of my like, I had a storyboarding gig a while back, and it's like they found me because I made a little animation of Crash, and it's like, we love this, and it's like, are you serious? Like, you want a job, like a quick job? I'm like, okay, but it's always Crash. It's always Crash.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it just all goes back to just being a 4-year-old and just enjoying it with my pops back then. So
Oh, yay. Okay, well, before we end off, there's only one thing left to do. Shill your stuff. What you got going on? What you do? What you doing right now? That you can talk about what's going on with you. Plug time.
um, plug plug. I am a freelance illustrator now, so hire me. Um,
Yeah.
um, yeah. I mean, currently just doing stuff for currently the official thumbnail artist for Ant Dude, and I just started working with Peanut Butter Gamer and Jaden Animations. You'll occasionally see some of my stuff with like Nitro Red and a couple other
Hmm.
YouTubers, but it's mostly those three right now.
Oh, oh,
Um,
oh! What
oh,
video was it where you cameoed in Nitro Red's one of his things? What was that? You guys were doing a
oh,
bit. I forgot what that was. That
it
was fucking
was
funny.
there was both Nitro Red and Ant Dude had
Yeah, that's
a
right.
Rayman. They both had a Rayman crossover, and I showed up
Ah,
in both of them. But it was like an alternate thing of making fun of both of them,
yeah, yeah.
I think. Yeah, but yeah, it's got that. I'm kind of just doing my own things right now. Like, just kind of, I am pretty open. I'm pretty open, like looking for, I'm kind of just going into the freelance life blindly right now. So, if you want to like collab on a video game, if you want merchandise or key art or something, maybe like just I don't know, reach out.
I'll definitely put
Um,
your info in the description. Also, follow Kevin on Twitter.
Twitter, my frequent twit on Twitter at Kevin Fagaragan, or my Instagram is Kevin Fagaragan Art,
Hmm.
because my other account got deleted somehow. But
Oh no.
yeah, but yeah, like that's mostly what I do. I'm trying to experiment a little bit more this year, see how it is to be a freelance artist. So
Nice.
don't know. I don't know. Crash Bandicoot, guide me, please. Just
Pray to Crash. He will show you the way.
Yes. Give me, give me some Aku Aku guidance or something. If the TNT crate lands on your head,
I love that.
just
That's the
jump.
one. Start hopping immediately. If you react fast and hop enough times, the TNT crate will fall off your head before it explodes. Don't fucking think I don't know that word for word! I love that that is the exact one you went with. Don't test me! Anyone thinks I'm a fake fan, fuck off!
The TNT. Like then you get the alternate version.
Puka Uka one.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is what Crash does to
I love
us.
Crash. I love Crash. And if you want to talk again about Crash, I'm here. I'm here. Like, I think you're unlocking something.
No, for sure, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I highly appreciate it. It was so cool getting to talk to you finally. And
Of course.
and for you guys listening, thank you so much for making it this far. Again, this is by far the longest one we've had. So it
Could
was.
have gone longer. I'm telling
Oh,
you.
it could have. Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I don't doubt.
We could have a part 2 if you want. I could talk about Crash all day. So
Oh
like
man.
unfortunately when I was doing the Rhythm Heaven one, like the guy had to cut off. He had to cut it off because it's like
There were a
like, I
few.
want to talk more.
Yeah, I know. There were a few I had to cut off. I had to cut off fucking CGs, which, by the way, dude, we still have to do part 2. That's a part 2 we have to do. I didn't even get to the questions. We were talking about just like we were so like just bouncing conversations and memories and stories off one another that it was almost like an extended intro. We never even got to the questions. So I need to get back to him, and we need to do the questions, and then Teal ended up unfortunately getting cut off a little too early at one point. He's been on the show twice already, and so it all just really depends. Like Lou, I had Lou stuttered on, and that was one of the shortest ones because of course he's a busy guy. So but no, man, yeah, seriously, no, for everyone who's been listening, thank you so much for making it this far. And if you've been a longtime Bandicast listener, just thank you again for listening to us ramble about an orange rat.
Whoa,
Whoa!
Crash, leave me alone. I need ice for my head.
The one I love imitating is and you have to do it with your hand slightly over your mouth to mimic the graininess of it. Quickly into the vortex. Find whatever obscure cave Brendan O'Brien's hiding in, and get him to voice characters again. Please.
Just for he should have came back for Crash 4. Just
That would have
as
been
past
amazing.
Cortex.
I was really hoping Clancy Brown was going to be past Cortex. I was really hoping for it. That would have been awesome.
That would have been cool. Oh my god.
Okay, guys. What were you going to say?
Amazing. Game over.
And then he just stares at you for a billion years.
Play again, Crash.
Okay. We'll see you guys later. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Bye-bye.
And take care.